Hollywood's new century. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction. So please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story in all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter. And if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 76. The Four Seasons Hotel in New York, the annual charity party led by Time Warner Group. Not only guests from the entertainment industry, fashion industry and other entertainment circles, but also celebrities from politics and business. Simon Pike has only made his fortune for 2 years, and he has only met some people in the entertainment circle. He has nothing to do with the financial circle and the political circle. Simon, you know how hot the movie market is now. Behind Hollywood is always Wall Street. The amount of capital in the heart of the world is scary, Thomas Tuer, the founder of Legendary Entertainment, said while holding red wine. Simon looked around and smiled meaningfully. The movie itself is a risky investment. How can Wall Street's private equity hedge funds let this cake go? Legendary Entertainment itself is also formed by a private equity fund. In 2004, Thomas Tull raised a $500 million fund on Wall Street. The first shot was Warner Brothers, which started the reboot of the Batman movie. Simon, although Xinghai Pictures doesn't have enough money now, it still needs a lot of money to develop, Thomas Tull said, looking at Simon Pike, setting up Xinghai TV department, acquiring record companies. Xinghai Entertainment's road and DreamWorks is too similar to see when he gets into film distribution. Simon nodded and said, what is the future positioning of Legendary Entertainment? Now Legendary Entertainment is just a film investment company. It is not difficult to enter the film production industry. Have you ever thought about the integration of production and distribution? Thomas Tull shook his head and responded, experience. I don't have Simon's talent in filmmaking. It's enough that the investment with Warner Brothers can make the investors in the fund get due returns. In the future, the development depends on the company's future participation in the film's performance to decide. Simon is non-committal. Investors care about the return of funds, not the development of the film company in the future. Legendary Entertainment was acquired by Wanda for $3.5 billion. Alice, such a sky-high acquisition is indeed only available from Chinese capital. In addition to some of the films of the Warner Brothers production company that participated in the film that Legend himself led was a complete mess. Batman, The Lost Man has taken the world by storm, and preparations have begun for the second installment in the series, The Dark Knight. Participating in such a popular film is very helpful to the development of Legendary Entertainment. Simon Pike and one can only admire the luck of Legendary Entertainment, one of the first companies of its kind to rival the big movie studios backed by private Wall Street shareholders and hedge fund investors. Okay, Simon, aren't we working on the project The Curious Case of Benjamin Button now? Maybe there will be more collaborations in the future. Thomas Tull said and patted Simon on the shoulder. After Thomas Tull left, Simon sat down on the sofa to rest for a while. Now some independent distributors include Summit Entertainment, Prologue Entertainment and Road Rebel Pictures, etc. There are still a lot of them, but the main focus is on family entertainment market. Pinnacle Entertainment is okay. It has participated in the investment and production of several blockbusters. Tom Cruise's Vanilla Sky and Mr. and Mrs. Smith all have Pinnacle High. Simon, well, so you are also. Simon's thoughts were interrupted. It turned out that Anne Hathaway came over. Yes, I live in Brooklyn, New York. I know you are in New York, and I thought you would return to Los Angeles soon, Anne Hathaway said in a black low-cut dress, still very solemn. Simon pressed his temples with his fingers and said, this time I come to New York to do some investment things. The longer the time passes, the more blurred Simon's memory will be, and only some important things will be recorded. Oh, Anne Hathaway also sat down, suddenly saw Harvey Weinstein and his girlfriend in front, and then turned his head to look at Simon Pike calmly. Of course Simon saw it too, and asked blankly, hasn't Harvey been married for many years, divorced last year, and now his girlfriend is Georgina Chapman, a British fashion designer, 30 years old. And they have known each other for more than 2 years. Anne Hathaway knew a lot and continued. He opened his mouth and said, Georgina Chapman developed a fashion brand Marchesa in 2004, and many female stars have worn this brand's clothing in the past 2 years, so it turns out, smart. Simon smiled. One was 30 years old and the other was 56 years old. After getting to know each other, The fat man was divorced. This Georgina Chapman is not easy. It seems that these two guys will get married soon. Richard Gere is the one who is chatting with Harvey now. Simon found another interesting person. Yeah, it's Richard Gere. He's old. It's a pity. Anne Hathaway commented, what's a pity? Isn't his ex-wife the supermodel Cindy Crawford? After acting in movies for so many years, the pension is enough money, Simon said flatly, but he was already thinking about how to make fun of these people. Simon, Harvey Weinstein has been immersed in Hollywood for more than 20 years, and he has a good sense of smell at the Oscars. The film he has produced has won 3 Oscars for Best Picture. And hey, in any case, Survey had already met Simon frankly, and he also liked it very much, and didn't want Simon Pike to offend his peers when his career was on the rise. Oh, I didn't do anything, Simon said helplessly, but your thoughtful expression just now feels like you're thinking about something bad. Anne Hathaway relied on a woman's intuition, although she couldn't tell, but it wasn't far behind. Simon was stunned. Look at Anne Hathaway, does that work too? I was really thinking about how to have fun just now. What are you thinking? What kind of bad thoughts do I use for my sake? It's not better to step on him in a movie, Simon said, approaching Anne Hathaway's ear, and whispered, I feel bad for you. Anne Hathaway's expression didn't change, she just responded, go to my side in Brooklyn that night, it's just me. Simon nodded without a trace, then patted Anne Hathaway, stood up and said, let's go say hello to some seniors in the film industry. Simon saw the big directors Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro. It doesn't matter if they cooperate or not, it's okay to get to know them. Mr. Scorsese, good evening, Mr. De Niro, I'm Simon Pike from Xinghai Pictures. Simon greeted him with a smile and greeted him politely. Chapter 77 Dog and Wolf. Anne Hathaway has a villa in Brooklyn, New York. Dumbo in Brooklyn is the abbreviation of Dow Manhattan Bridge Overpass, which mainly refers to the Brooklyn Bridge and the area under the bridge extending from the Manhattan Bridge to Brooklyn. The Clock Tower building, near the East River, at the head of the Brooklyn Bridge. Anne Hathaway's 2,500-foot high-rise villa is on the 9th floor. Simon, how about you? You can watch the Brooklyn Bridge and the Manhattan Bridge directly, and Manhattan is on the opposite side, Anne Hathaway introduced while pulling Simon. It's okay to look at it now. The neon lights are still very beautiful. Isn't there only 2 bridges during the day? Simon didn't even bother to look at the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. How could I appreciate these 2 bridges, over there? Anne Hathaway dragged Simon to the other side of the window and smiled. You can see the Statue of Liberty during the day. Simon was stunned, and looked at the European-style decoration of the house, surrounded by glass main structures. Not bad. He hugged the girl's waist and said with a smile, isn't it less privacy during the day, if you don't close the curtains at night? Anne Hathaway said, turning her head and kissing Simon. Before staggering to the room, the clothes on their body were dragged and thrown on the ground one by one, and the 2 fell directly on the bed. Simon brushed Anne Hathaway's lips and said with a smile, is your mouth the most satisfying body part? What about you? Where do you like me most? The girl asked with a seductive look on Simon's back. I like them all. Then he lowered his head and kissed those sexy red lips. The next day, it was past 10 when Simon woke up, and Anne Hathaway was still asleep in her arms. Well, how long have you been awake? Anne Hathaway rubbed her eyes and asked Simon, who woke up and disturbed you? No. Anne Hathaway looked at the watch on the bedside table. It was 10:30, not early. Simon, aren't you going to the company today? You're a record company. Anne Hathaway sat up and stretched. I don't have to go every day. It's normal to take a few days off. Christmas is coming soon, so give yourself a holiday. Simon said while admiring the beauty of the girl's spring. Okay, let's get up and eat something first. Anne Hathaway said and got out of bed in her pajamas. It was afternoon by the time Simon left Anne Hathaway's house. The office of the Nine-Headed Bird Fund is in a commercial office building at the intersection of Wall Street and Broadway, not far from Tribeca in Lower Manhattan. Laura, there was an old movie about a man and a dog before RB. It seems to be called Hachiko, and the people in the production department should be notified to buy back the remake rights of this RB movie. Simon sat down. He was on the phone with his assistant Laura Collins in the chair. Okay, boss, is there anything else? The female assistant responded. Yes, Jordan Belfort, a notorious stockbroker on Wall Street in the 1990s, known as the Robin Hood of Wall Street, the man who went to prison in 1998, and has been out of prison for a few years now. I am interested in his deeds. Let me go contact him, and we, Xinghai Pictures, hope to adapt his deeds into a movie. Simon is talking about a future movie, The Wolf of Wall Street. After hanging up the phone, Simon also saw Richard Gere at the reception and thought of the adaptation of the story of Hachiko. Although it was only a small-budget independent film produced by a company in Europe, none of which was in the United States released, but the same cannot be left to him as for The Wolf of Wall Street. It came to mind after seeing Martin Scorsese, but the autobiographical novel of the original protagonist Jordan Belfort has not yet been published. I don't know if I started writing it. Anyway, Simon will be contacted by people. When Happiness Comes Knocking is not also a movie made first, and then a novel of the same name published after a while. Nancy Davis came in and said, "Simon, you are looking for me. Our people have gone to San Francisco to negotiate with several founders of Twitter." "Oh, I see. It's not because of this. I want to ask about Jordan Belfort, the thorn in Wall Street in the 90s. Simon laughed. "Oh, Jordan Belfort, I know, but not much. After all, the year he was in prison, I just graduated from college and joined Goldman Sachs as a trader." Nancy Davis said and sat down with Simon on the sofa next to it. "I also recently read the report about him more than 10 years ago, and found that Jordan Belfort's life is very exciting. At his peak, he was worth more than $100 million US. Simon said with a smile, "That's right, his Stratton Oakmont Securities Company, Limited makes a lot of money. He is smart, indulgent, and eloquent. He has accumulated a lot of wealth in a few years through securities fraud and money laundering." Nancy Davis said. Simon nodded, and then continued to ask, "It is reported that he is openly drinking, taking drugs, and looking for young ladies in his company. Is this also the case with other exchanges on Wall Street?" Nancy Davis was stunned for a moment, then shrugged helplessly. "Many people on Wall Street are under a lot of pressure, filled with drugs, sex, and there are indeed many parties in the office, but Jordan Belfort's Stella-Dunn Oakmont Securities is just a very ordinary small company, and he has to pay back the hundreds of millions of dollars that he defrauded in the end. For a lot of people, Jordan Belfort is just a little shrimp. However, he is indeed very capable, and his unscrupulous way of making money is also crazy." Simon smiled. It seemed that the stock traders in many financial institutions on Wall Street were really crazy, and the office directly called call girls to decompress. "Oh, it's interesting. You said that I made this guy's deeds into a movie. Will it be very popular?" Simon's face was flat. Nancy Davis suddenly realized, smiled and said, "I see. I still wonder why you are interested in a Wall Street stockbroker. It turned out to be for this." Nancy Davis shook her head. She didn't know if the movie would be popular. Martin Scorsese's The Wolf of Wall Street uses sex and drugs as selling points, showing a lavish lifestyle, an absurd black comedy film regardless of word of mouth or box office. It can't be compared with Knock on Happiness, and Martin Scorsese is indeed not suitable for directing this type of film. However, Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio will not have this opportunity to develop this film in the future. Chapter 78 Gossip Girl. In the bathroom of Anne Hathaway's home in Brooklyn, New York, Simon Pike takes a hot bath with Anne Hathaway. "Simon, aren't you going back to Los Angeles?" Anne Hathaway asked while lying in Simon's arms. "Go back, but the company has prepared a series for a long time to shoot, and the scene is in the Upper East Side of Manhattan." "Yes, Simon is talking about the series Gossip Girl." "Oh, so what about Christmas? Where are you going?" Anne Hathaway asked while playing on the water. "I don't like Christmas. I guess I can spend it casually. I should go back to Los Angeles when the time comes." Simon has received Tom Hanks' Mamma Mia from the company. The script file, adapted from the stage play. Simon himself doesn't know much, but Mamma Mia is a big hit movie or no? Anne Hathaway suddenly turned her head and stared at Simon and said, "Why don't we go to the beach in Miami for a vacation, huh?" Simon faced the burning eyes and said, "You are a big star now, aren't you afraid of reporters? Just find a private beach, I'll arrange it. It's warm there, and it's more comfortable than Los Angeles now." Anne Hathaway said and kissed Simon on the cheek. "Well, I'll go to Miami to find you then. I heard that Palm Beach over there is a paradise for the rich." Simon nodded. "The Jewish Palm Beach Country Club. I don't know where that financial giant is now. That was a century-old scam involving tens of billions of dollars." "Okay," Anne Hathaway said and hugged Simon's face and kissed it. Susan White and Jennifer Smith chatting at AC Agency in Los Angeles, West Hollywood. The supporting actress in 26 Dresses, one of the leading actresses in Gossip Girl, and the other is Blake Lively, the young Jennifer Smith. Understood now, all projects of Star C Entertainment. Jennifer Smith actually had some doubts before, because Simon Pike rose too fast, and then he was signed by the AC brokerage company. Although there are not many good resources, it is better than before. Moreover, the relationship between Simon Parker and the AC brokerage company is not ordinary. After all, he is still a client here. Jennifer Smith did wonder if Simon Peck remembered herself. Perhaps Simon Pike just mentioned it casually. Now, no doubt, Simon Pike does remember himself. Thank you, Susan. I didn't even think I'd have a chance at 22. Jennifer Smith certainly cherished the opportunity. Susan White smiled and could only say that this girl was very lucky, because she had been working with Simon Parker for a week before she made a fortune, and now she was promoted by Simon Blake Lively, who had a relationship with Simon Pike before. Sonia Roman was unclear. Gossip Girl, Sonia Roman reminded herself, is a TV project that Simon values very much. As the first series of Zinghe TV production company, Blake Lively is also the heroine of Simon's internal decision, and Susan White believes that the show will be successful. Jennifer, it is indeed Simon who asked me to sign you. For more than a year, it has been a test for you. Blake is also studying acting for this. Gossip Girl. You are a lucky girl. Susan White sees it thoroughly. Jennifer Smith is beautiful and serious, but there are too many girls like her in Hollywood. Jennifer Smith nodded and said in a trance, actually, I worked with Simon on the Wedding Australian crew at the time. He was very serious at that time and usually didn't talk much. He played the wedding guest of the crew with me. And then he will also help with chores, Jennifer Smith said with a smile on her face. I asked him why he didn't think about acting, and he answered me that he was not interested in being an actor. He said that time was too tight, and he had to make money quickly. Yeah, he is not simple either. With the support of Nicole Kidman, a Juno was born, which gave him a taste of success, and Nicole Kidman has helped him dozens of times. Double the return. Susan White also felt that life was impermanent. Back then, Sonia Roman had to rely on herself to deliver the script to Pat Kingsley, and she didn't think the script would make such a big splash. That, Simon, does he remember me now? Jennifer Smith should thank him anyway. Susan White nodded, looked out the window and said, I definitely remember it. It is estimated that when I signed you, the role of this Gossip Girl was yours. This 26 dresses, it also gives you experience, and Blake Lively has a lot of experience in several films. Well, I understand, I will definitely work hard. Jennifer Smith still had a word in her heart that she did not say, and she would not disappoint Simon. Okay, get ready. These two projects will be the main event next year. Susan White felt very good about a movie and a TV. Jennifer Smith nodded. The excitement in her heart could not be restrained, and she could finally be the protagonist. Gossip Girl is operated by a writing team and other staff led by the company's executive producer Simon Pike. Also returned to Los Angeles a few days before Christmas. No matter what else, Simon was thinking about Twitter and wanted to go to the company in San Francisco to see it. Simon, you should have gone to New York earlier, in November, Nina said maliciously. Simon was puzzled. The album of the singer from my record company will be released in December. I just went to see the record company. After all, the decline of the traditional record industry is too obvious. Oh, I'm talking about the Victoria's Secret show in New York in November, the Victoria's Secret Supermodel, the fashion lingerie show. Don't you like it? Nina Jacobson reminded. Oh, I missed it. It was over when I went, but I saw a few Victoria's Secret supermodels at the reception, and Gisele Bündchen, who made a cameo in our movie The Queen wearing Prada, talked a few times. Simon put his hand on his forehead with a pity expression. Well, 26 Dresses is going to start shooting in February next year, and 20th Century Fox is scheduled to release in September. 20th Century Fox will release it after production next year. Filming starts in February. It's definitely no problem. This movie can be closed for at most 2.5 months, and it can be released in September. After all, it's just a small-cost romantic comedy. Simon also has no problem. It's difficult to have it. Fox's schedule, it must be in line with their company's situation. Nina Jacobson nodded and continued, tomorrow, the creators of Mamma Mia, come over, let's discuss it together. Chapter 79 Mamma Mia. In the conference room of Zinghe Pictures, Simon was talking with Mamma Mia. The main creators talked about the script Mamma Mia. The stage producer Judy Kramer, songwriter for the stage adaptation, one of the former members of the original ABBA band, Benny Andersson, Mamma Mia. The stage play's screenwriter Katherine Johnson and director Phil DeLuy, Tom Hanks and his wife Rita Wilson, one of the heads of Pidone Productions, and Gary Goldsman, another partner of Pidone. Simon went through the screenplay, which had been adapted, and looked at screenwriter Katherine Johnson and director Philip Deloy. This is to directly recruit the screenwriter of the stage play to rewrite the script, and then recruit the director of the original stage play to direct the film. Simon, we have been preparing for the film adaptation for a long time, but I have no experience in film production before, and then Pidone Company intervened to make great progress, Judy Kramer explained, and then asked, Simon, what do you think about the plan? Simon smiled and said, there's nothing wrong with the script, and the actors are well chosen. It's really attractive to have Meryl Streep and Pierce Brosnan sing in the movie. Then he turned his head to look at Tom Hanks and asked, I heard that after the stage play on Broadway in New York, many film companies want to buy the film adaptation rights. Tom, how did you buy it in advance? Tom Hanks said with a smile, it's because of Rita. After she saw the stage play, she liked it and recommended me to watch it. After watching it, I felt that it must be adapted into a movie, so that's the case. Simon nodded first, and then asked, has the distributor of the movie been found? Tom Hanks spread his hands and said helplessly, the movie budget needs $50 million. We found Relativity Entertainment and they are willing to invest $20 million. We have contacted several major filmmakers, and they are all waiting to see. It doesn't matter, the remaining $30 million will be funded by us. Xinghai Pictures. We will contact the distributor, 20th Century Fox, Warner Bros., Universal, Paramount all have cooperation projects with us. The independent distributor Lionsgate Pictures. There are also our projects. Simon did not expect that there has been an investment of $20 million. According to the investment ratio, Xinghai Pictures is 60% of the equity income, but in production, they can only rely on Xinghai Pictures. Relativity Entertainment is currently a film investment company. Like Legendary Entertainment, Tom Hanks' Pidone Company or Judy Kramer's Little Star Company are only nominal producers. That's great. With the addition of Xinghai Pictures, our progress is much faster. Judy Kramer was indeed happy. Simon nodded. I have no experience with stage adaptations, but this script is perfect, and the stage play was very successful before. Now that the director of the original stage play is in charge, I can rest assured, Nina has a strong ability to control the film set. She will assist Ms. Kramer as the company's producer representative, and we will negotiate the release as soon as possible. Gary Goldsman, producer of Pidone, said, we should be able to enter the post-production stage of the film and start casting. Of course, you don't need to worry about the release. Simon is of course confident, and now Xinghai Pictures is still somewhat popular. After the meeting, Simon returned to his office with $30 million. Leaving only $20 million of the $50 million he left behind. Simon, do you have a confidence in this stage play adaptation movie? Nina asked. The script is good, it should be fine, just pay attention to the director. After all, stage plays are different from movies, and too exaggerated stage play style is not suitable, Simon explained. Nina Jacobson nodded, this is for sure, the director only had experience in directing stage plays before, and directing movies does require some attention. 20th Century Fox and we still have a distribution contract. The budget of Mamma Mia is $50 million, which is just right for the third film. Nina smiled, she really wanted to sleep, and someone handed it over pillow. Hey, musicals, the most successful movie in recent years is Chicago. The only failure is Richard Gere. Just changed to a more professional actor. Simon did not forget to belittle him. Nina explained, Simon, you may not know, the original male lead of Chicago was John Travolta. He was in musicals earlier, because he didn't want to do musicals anymore, so he pushed Chicago. Chicago, the production company hired Richard Gere instead. Oh, so it is, but there are many failures in the adaptation of the stage play to the film. The adaptation of the Phantom of the Opera into a film is a huge loss. In terms of the influence of the stage play, Mamma Mia is far from the Phantom of the Opera. It's still a lot worse. Simon doesn't know much about drama, but musicals are still quite popular in film academies. By the way, I'm going to leave Los Angeles for a while recently, and the company's affairs will be left to you to manage. Simon is about to go to Miami to experience the hot beach. Understood. Marvel's Project Iron Man is going well. We really don't contact the publisher now? Although Nina knew Simon's thoughts, she was still a little worried. Simon looked at Nina, then he shook his head firmly and said, no, I have a plan for Iron Man. The release date must be in the second half of 2008. By then, Xinghai Pictures will definitely have our own distribution network. In any case, during the financial crisis in 2008, we must take advantage of the difficulties of major filmmakers to get the North American distribution network. This kind of opportunity can be met but not available. At the same time, we must also pay attention to the TV station ABC, CBS, Fox and Time Warner's WB and Paramount's up and combined CW wireless television network. The United States' 5 major wireless broadcast and television networks are all together with the film group Xinghai Pictures is no longer involved, and the basic cable TV networks are basically under their media group, AMC, TBS, MTV, BT, FX, SIFI, USA in addition to the AMC basic cable TV station under the American Television Group, which is not a 6th major system. This is also unaffordable now. Premium cable is also known as pay TV. HBO is owned by Time Warner, and Showtime premium channels are owned by CBS Group. There is only one Starz pay TV station left, which can be considered in the future, but it is too late to step in now. Simon's goal is to focus on Netflix, which is in the DVD rental business. It will soon enter the streaming media business. If the DVD business is separated, the stock price will fluctuate greatly. The future of Xinghai Pictures is to use streaming media to impact TV stations. Chapter 80. Miami is in the southernmost part of Florida, and like other cities in South Florida, it has a subtropical marine climate and no city in winter. On the balcony of a beach holiday villa in Palm Beach, Simon leaned on a chair in a shorts and a floral shirt, looking at the Atlantic Ocean in front of him. Anne Hathaway came over with 2 glasses of champagne in a sexy bikini, handed a glass to Simon, and said, "What's the matter? It's Christmas today, be happy." After speaking, he kissed Simon's face again and sat next to him. Simon took a sip of champagne and said, "Tonight, the Los Angeles Lakers are playing against the Miami Heat. I forgot about the Christmas battle. I still remembered after receiving a reminder from Laura Collins. It seems that I really am not a qualified fan. Bryant Kobe versus Dwayne Wade. However, when I was in Los Angeles, I didn't see you going to the Staples Center," laughed Anne Hathaway. "The results are too bad now, and I didn't have time when I won the championship before." Simon has money and time now, but now the Lakers' results are too disappointing. "Okay." Anne Hathaway went around behind Simon and said, hugging Simon's neck intimately, "There's Art Basel going on in Miami right now. Do you want to go and see it? It's very lively." "The art fair, where exactly will it be held?" Simon turned back. "The Miami Beach Convention Center, not far from Palm Beach County, has been held in Miami every year since 2002. Anne Hathaway responded. "Artwork, everything?" Simon had some interest in antiques. "It's mostly contemporary painting and engraving, it seems." Anne Hathaway had only heard of contemporary. "It's not an antique." Simon lost his interest after hearing it, and said with a curl of his lips, "I might as well go to Sotheby's or Christie's auction house if I have time." That night, we went to the music festival on the beach over there. It was very lively, and we could also go to the bar for entertainment. There were many parties. Anne Hathaway suggested again. Simon nodded, drank the champagne in his glass in one gulp, stood up, pulled Anne Hathaway and said, "Go, now let's ride the jet ski." Simon Pike enjoying the sun, sand and beauty this side of Miami during Christmas. The film released in December, the film that can enter Simon's eyes, Sony Columbia's When Happiness Comes Knocking accumulated a box office of $68 million in 10 days. The fantasy comedy Night at the Museum released on 12/22 on 20th Century Fox opened for $30 million. What a great movie. Will Smith's Knock on Happiness has an investment of only $55 million and a global box office of $300 million. Wonderful Night at the Museum is even more incredible. The investment is also $110 million, but it has smashed the global box office of more than $550 million. In the living room, Simon is on the phone with Laura Collins. "Boss, the remake rights of RB's movie Hachiko have been bought back." "Yes, and that Jordan Belfort, who authorized us to adapt his biographical film?" Simon asked. "Oh, yes, but Jordan Belfort is writing his personal autobiographical novel to be published. The company thinks that he can publish his personal autobiography first, and then we adapt it. The success rate will be higher." Simon thought for a moment, then said, "That's okay, just authorize the bookmark." "Does the personal autobiographical novel conceived by Jordan Belfort have a name?" "Not yet. I've been thinking about the content of my autobiography." Simon smiled and said, "I suggest it's called The Wolf of Wall Street, and our movie will also use this name at that time. I think Jordan Belfort will definitely like it." "Okay, boss, when are you going back to Los Angeles?" Our Little Miss Sunshine will probably be nominated for the Best Picture Oscar in 2007. Laura Collins asked, "It's coming soon. It's estimated to be about a week or so. Let's talk about it when the time comes." Anyway, the two films we produced, The Devil Wears Prada and Little Miss Sunshine, are not both nominated for the Golden Globe Awards for Film and Television to be held on 1.15 next year. It's a good movie, musical comedy. The Golden Globes were originally held in mid-February, but after 2003, it was moved to mid-January, because Oscar nominations are usually announced in late January, and the holding time is from late February to March. Uncertain in late-month Golden Globes? Who cares? Oscar still cares about it now. It can strengthen its heritage and influence. Besides, the sales of Oscar-winning movies in the home entertainment market will be even better. Just as Simon hung up the phone, Anne Hathaway ran in. "Simon, there's a private reception to be held at Mar-a-Lago in West Palm Beach tonight. Can you accompany me?" "Well, is it a celebrity private reception?" Simon asked. "No, it was initiated by film investors, and there will be other industries, sports, fashion, music, investors, and some business people," Anne Hathaway recalled. As if that was the case, Simon nodded and said, "It's all rich people. I heard that there are many golf clubs organized by Jews in this place, and they are all rich people." Anne Hathaway nodded and said, "Mar-a-Lago is a luxurious golf resort." "I don't have money." "Simon, you have money. 2 years you're worth more than $500 million, and you're only 24 years old." Simon smiled and said, "It seems that I am still famous for investing in you too, and the people behind the scenes of the movie do receive much less attention than the stars." After he finished speaking, he touched Anne Hathaway's face and smiled. "You are still poor. Your salary for a movie is now $5 or $6 million? How many people can't make so much money in their lifetime, and still pay for it?" "Not a rich man." Anne Hathaway put her head on Simon's shoulder and explained, "But compared to you, I am poor, and you can make a lot of money from a movie. Hey, I have some money now, but it's not enough. In the future, I will set up an investment fund under the Nine-Headed Bird Fund. You can hand over some of the funds to the people I find to manage. It should be better than finding someone yourself. The management is much stronger." Simon knew that many stocks were going to go up anyway, and it would be good to lead women to make some money together in the future, and he also had a backup source of funds. "This seems to be good. I will invest in your fund in the future when I have money." Anne Hathaway felt that Simon was a very reliable person. Miami Mar-a-Lago. Simon felt a trace of impression, but he still couldn't remember it. Chapter 81. I don't invest. Palm Beach County is on the north side of Miami, an important part of the Miami metropolitan area, and West Palm Beach is the county seat of Palm Beach County. Miami's West Palm Beach is comparable to Los Angeles' Beverly Hills, and the rich life in it. Mar-a-Lago is located on a long and narrow island running north-south on the Atlantic coast of West Palm Beach, in a classic and luxurious Spanish style. The point is, he is now the property of Donald, the East Coast real estate king. I heard that it was built in the 1920s. After the original owner passed away, it was donated to the government as a winter resort for the president. It was not used by the president, and was returned to the original family. Anne Hathaway took Simon's arm and introduced, "It's become a private club anyway, and maybe it will become the real winter White House in the future." Simon smiled. He didn't expect to come to Trump's property to attend a charity dinner. It seems that Trump is still the host of a reality show, The Celebrity Apprentice, under NBC TV, and this guy also likes to make cameo appearances in movies. He is definitely a half Hollywood person. Simon, Mr. Katzenberg, the head of DreamWorks Animation, is here, Anne Hathaway reminded. "Good evening, Jeffrey. I didn't expect to meet again so soon." Simon and he had known each other at the Paramount dance. "Simon, Anne, good evening." Jeffrey Katzenberg, the big bald man, shook hands with the two, and he didn't bother to worry about why they were together. DreamWorks Animation is really exciting when 2 feature-length animated films are released every year, Simon said, thinking about DreamWorks' Shrek series, Madagascar series, and Kung Fu Panda series that will be released in 2008. A burst of heat. Xinghai Pictures must have its own animation production department. It must be. The 6 majors have their own animation production departments. Now Pixar of Disney Group, Blue Sky Studio of 20th Century Fox and DreamWorks Animation are 3 pillars. Sony Animation, Warner Brothers Animation and Paramount Animation have also started releasing their own animated feature films. Jeffrey Katzenberg smiled and showed his white teeth, and said, "Simon, no matter how strong DreamWorks Animation is, it can't match your investment vision. This investment in you too is an eye-opener, Simon asked with a smile. Why, are you also interested in venture capital? Jeffrey Katzenberg shook his head firmly and said, I don't understand this. From Paramount to Disney and finally to DreamWorks, my main job is the production of animated feature films, and this is also my career. Just leave the investment to professional people to do it. Also, professional things should be left to professional people. Simon agrees afterwards. Jeffrey Katzenberg smiled at Simon. Anne Hathaway still had some eyesight, and said, I'll go over there and see. You guys talk first. After Anne Hathaway left, Jeffrey Katzenberg dragged Simon Parker to the rest area on the side of the banquet hall. Simon, there's actually one more thing to remind you. Jeffrey Katzenberg laughed. Well, what's the matter? Such a mysterious look. You know Madoff Securities, right? Jeffrey said, I know. A securities investment company founded by Bernard Madoff manages nearly hundreds of billions of funds in stock capital. Simon has also been to Wall Street. Madoff Investments is well known, with an annual rate of 10% to 15%. Of course. Simon knew that it was not because of the rate of return that it exceeded, but the former Nasdaq chairman Bernard Madoff was a financial swindler of the century, who played the Ponzi scheme to its peak at present. The next fund of Madoff Investments is absorbing capital here, and many Hollywood celebrities want to hand over capital to this company. Jeffrey Katzenberg was a bit like a traitor at this time. Simon nodded and said, I've heard a few things about Bernard Madoff. I heard that he rarely solicits clients actively, and the big clients who invest in his company are also Jewish. Yes, like me and Steve Spielberg have funds to this company to help take care of. There's a fund manager from Madoff here tonight. He can help you take care of your funds. Of course, Jeffrey Katzenberg knows that Simon is now rich in capital, with a cash flow of $1 or $2 billion. Simon smiled, and now it is also a status symbol to hand over the funds to Madoff Investments. Looking at the smile on Jeffrey Katzenberg's face, I don't know how much money this guy has invested in it. Simon remembers that in the 2008 financial crisis, when Bernard Madoff fell, it was because he saw in the newspaper that Tang Jun, the Chinese working emperor, was also a customer of this company. Jeffrey, thank you. My funds have been taken care of by others, and I have just established the nine-headed bird fund myself. So, Simon shook his head and said, even if he didn't know who Bernard Madoff was, financial fraud, it is impossible to hand over the funds to others to take care of. Wouldn't it be nice for me to buy Amazon, Google, Apple, etc.? That's a pity. It seems that Simon has a lot of interest in venture capital. Jeffrey felt a little regretful, but it didn't matter. Simon and Jeffrey Katzenberg chatted for a while and then separated, and soon Simon found the owner of Mar-a-Lago, Trump. I heard that this manor was only $8 million when he bought it in 1985. It covers an area of 20 acres with a building area of 2.5 acres. The real estate king really has a vision. Simon and Anne Hathaway found a place to sit, while still commenting, I don't know, the real estate company is quite big anyway. There are several buildings and hotels in New York alone. Anne Hathaway only knew that this guy was a very pushy rich man. Oh, that's true. Anyway, many people like to use their surnames as brands. Simon didn't think there was anything wrong with it. Isn't that the case in the West? RB also learned to play this game from the West. Hey, next to him is his eldest daughter, a New York socialite named Ivanka, who seems to be a year older than the two of us. Isn't she beautiful? Anne Hathaway said while drinking champagne. Simon nodded and said, it's really good, and the figure is pretty good. Fortunately, the eldest daughter born by Trump has inherited the characteristics of her mother. Otherwise, if you follow Trump's words, you will know by looking at his second daughter. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82. At an amp really big mouth. Donald and Ivanka come before Simon Pike and Anne Hathaway. Miss Hathaway, of course Ivanka only knew Anne Hathaway. Simon Pike, Zing Hey Pictures, good evening. Simon Pike introduced himself. Oh, I remembered, it was announced at the Oscars that stars should focus on acting, and shouldn't use their own influence to talk about politics, Trump said with a surprised look on his face and a smile on his face. Oh, that's to liven up the atmosphere of the ceremony. Simon smiled. No, I think what you said is very reasonable. There are too many stars in Hollywood who always like to guide people's justice. They don't know what politics is at all. Those plain views are indeed ridiculous, Trump has always said. He is a supporter of the Republican Party, and has no fondness for Hollywood, the stronghold of the Democratic Party, even though he has appeared in many movies. Okay, Dad, it's a charity party tonight, Ivan carapuled Trump, then looked at Simon and smiled. Yahoo's investment has been very successful. I didn't expect that. In addition to making movies, the venture capital vision is also very good. Mr. Trump is not only doing a good job in the real estate business, but the ratings of the reality show Celebrity Apprentice are also very good, and the annual Miss America is also a big event. Simon responded with a smile. After all, Trump is also Celebrity Apprentice, and the chairman of the jury of Miss America. That is also one of his industries. Trump smiled and said, Ivanka, you are all young people, let's talk first, and I'll go say hello to the other guests. Ivanka was wearing a red evening dress today, which showed her good figure vividly, even better than Anne Hathaway next to her. Miss Hathaway, I like your performance in The Queen Wears Prada very much. It's a good movie. Ivanka looked at Anne Hathaway, who is indeed a beautiful American sweetheart. Just call me Anne. Simon made that movie, and he was involved in the adaptation of the script. Anne Hathaway said, brushing her hair. Well, then you can call me Ivanka too. I don't know much about Hollywood, but Zinghay Pictures has heard of it. I didn't expect the boss to be so young, Ivanka said and laughed. Ivanka, how many charity parties are held in Palm Beach every year? Simon Rao asked with interest. There are no less than 100 times, big and small. Now, at the end of the year, there are about 50 charity parties held this month. Our Mar-a-Lago manor has been very busy recently. Ivanka attended too many events with her father, with such an expression as expected. Simon said again, do you know anything about Madoff Investments? Ivanka nodded and said, a well-known investment company. There are funds involved in the United States, Europe, Asia and the Middle East. Are you interested? Simon shook his head, and then said with a look of regret, there is a fund manager under Madoff Investments here. My funds are going to be used to make movies, or I will invest too. Trump is so rich and does not invest in Madoff's securities firm. Simon feels that it is not good, and some blood should be done. Really? But Madoff's investment company has a really high rate of return, and I don't know the specifics. The main business of our group is real estate development, Ivanka said casually. Simon smiled. It seems that the current rate of return in the real estate industry is not bad. It is not a good opportunity to invest in Madoff's company, but it doesn't matter. The real estate industry's blow is enough to eat a pot of real estate afterwards. Simon and Anne Hathaway were ready to leave waging the Iraq war with weapons of mass destruction. Bush is indeed a genius. Trump and several people were chatting and mocking the current White House owner. No, we, the United States, are defending world peace, leading the peacekeepers to ensure the freedom of the Iraqi people and freeing them from Saddam's regime. Another person also echoed with a smile. Simon and Anne Hathaway, who had just passed not far from them, heard these words. Of course, September 11th, the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, the current White House administration seems really unpopular. Simon smiled. The presidential election will begin next year, and the Republican Party is indeed powerless. Next year's subprime mortgage crisis will be huge fun. There are serious differences within the Republican Party. Simon, don't you support the Republican Party? Anne Hathaway asked in surprise. What Republicans? Democrats. I'm a centrist. Simon is the same as most people. Pseudo-feminism, pseudo-racial attention, are just bargaining chips for interests. Simon seems to have seen the Democratic black candidate and the female candidate Hillary Clinton in next year's presidential election. Hollywood, who likes to be noisy, has another flutter, and Simon took Anne Hathaway's hand out of the manor next year. People are really looking forward to it. How to get the most benefit is what I should consider most. As for who is the president, it has nothing to do with him. Even if Trump announces his candidacy next year, it is alright. After returning to the holiday home, Anne Hathaway changed into a sexy swimsuit and jumped into the swimming pool to play. Simon is sitting on a beach chair by the pool thinking, not only will he make a fortune in the crisis next year, but also the problem of his own movie distribution network and animated feature films. And Netflix, Blockbuster has been beaten by Netflix, but streaming the signs of the body have already appeared, and Google's acquisition of YouTube at a large price is a good proof Netflix relies on DVD subscribers to transform its streaming media. This has a great advantage. Appropriate drainage is fine. Anyway, it is the same system. Hey, it seems that there are still a lot of things that I need to pay attention to next year. Mess it up, only the more messy the better, and the more messy you can win the interests. Simon whispered, the next 2 years will be the most important thing in shaping his legendary life. 2 years after the financial crisis, It is also a good time to hunt for the bottom of the stock market. Watching Anne Hathaway swimming like a mermaid in the pool, Simon got up and poured 2 glasses of red wine. We're leaving tomorrow, let's have fun these days. Simon asked the girl leaning by the pool with a glass of wine. Happy, it's been more than a week, you should have a lot of work to deal with. I'm also preparing for the New Year's work content, and the agent has a few more scripts for me to read. Anne Hathaway saying that, he drank the red wine in the glass, then he put his arms around Simon's neck and kissed his lips. The last night. Chapter 83 New Year. Hollywood is silent about the arrival of 2007. After the North American box office market experienced a low ebb in 2005, it has recovered in 2006. For 2005, there was a 4.2% increase, and the annual box office reached $9.2 billion. The market is definitely more prosperous. In Beverly Hills, Simon hosted Nancy Davis, the administrator of his $900 bird fund, at his home Twitter angel round, valued at $5 million. We invested $1 million, accounting for 20% of the shares, Nancy Davis reported on the investment. However, they refused to sign an exclusive investment agreement with us, and subsequent financing will definitely bring in more investors. Simon nodded and said, it doesn't matter, an exclusive investment agreement is difficult. The more investors there are, the more dispersed the equity will be, which will help them control the company. Simon remembers that the Future P was exclusively invested by Sequoia Capital, and was later acquired by Facebook for more than $20 billion in the future. When Twitter continues to raise funds, let's take the lead and guarantee at least 20% of the shares of $900 bird in Twitter. As for the future voting rights, some of the voting rights can be given to the management of the founding team. Simon didn't care what happened to Twitter. In operation, all you need is shares, otherwise the second, third and fourth rounds of financing will dilute your shares again and again. Understood? And we have been buying shares of Apple recently, and there are certain investment prospects according to analysis. Nancy Davis continued, that's good, don't worry, Apple's mobile phone conference will be held soon, and some will go up in the first half of this year. Simon nodded. If he has not held the stock for more than a year, the transaction tax will be a bit high. Otherwise he just needs to pay capital gains tax just fine. Simon, you seem to be very interested in technology venture capital. Should you set up an office in San Francisco's Silicon Valley and receive any news as soon as possible? Nancy Davis suggested. Yes, it can be implemented, and I also need first-hand information on many innovative companies. Simon absolutely agreed, and then said, Nancy, are you interested in setting up another private equity investment fund? I still have some connections in Hollywood, and many celebrities are also very rich. Nancy Davis' eyes lit up. If it was proposed by Simon Pike, it would be different, and he did not have his connections. That's okay. You know, I've been in this business before, but the customer side is not my strong point. How could Nancy Davis disagree? She agreed too much. Well, you can convene people to set up a private equity fund as soon as possible, Simon said after thinking for a while, then said, I also thought of the name. It's called the Phoenix Foundation. I know that the phoenix is also a kind of magical bird in China. Nancy Davis said with a smile. Her boss likes Chinese myths and stories, of course. He also understands it. Simon looked at Nancy and smiled. Yes, the divine bird that China worships is like a Chinese dragon. By the way, Nancy, you pay attention to Elon Musk. I am also very interested in this person. Simon didn't want to miss the Tesla project. Elon Musk, who is one of the founders of PayPal, an online payment tool, was acquired by eBay. In 2002, he founded SpaceX, a space exploration technology company, and in 2004, he invested in Tesla, an electric car company. He also became chairman, and in 2006 he and his cousin founded SunCity, a photovoltaic power generation company. Nancy Davis seemed familiar with this man. Oh, so clear? Simon smiled. Solar City has just been established, and it definitely needs investment. As for SpaceX and Tesla, the next time they raise funds, the $900 bird fund can follow up. Simon knew that Tesla didn't buy SunCity later. The energy car Tesla is worth investing in. But SpaceX doesn't seem to be raising money until many years into the future. Nancy Davis nodded and explained, I participated in Elon Musk's financing for Tesla before, and he himself is very optimistic about Tesla's development. That's good. Elon Musk's main funds have been invested in his space exploration technology company SpaceX. There shouldn't be much funds on Tesla's side. We will enter the next financing. Tesla, there are a lot of problems now, gearboxes, batteries, and RU00260 costs. Soon the founders of the company will leave, and Elon Musk will have to invest everywhere. Nancy Davis thought of something and reminded, Elon Musk's sister Tosca Musk founded Musk Entertainment in 2001, and you can be regarded as one of your Hollywood people. Simon nodded. Of course he didn't know his sister, but their family was very powerful. As for the film industry, as long as there is an idea, anyone can participate, and the Musk family is not short of money, and it is very simple for his sister to be an independent filmmaker anyway. It was only Elon Musk who invested, and the others didn't bother to worry about it. Besides, the people in their family were also very low profile. It is estimated that his mother was the best looking when she was young. Follow Tesla, invest in Sun City, and I want you to pay attention to the stock price of DVD rental company Netflix for me. Simon leaned back in his chair. Netflix is the company most related to my career. Although Netflix is now the #1 DVD rental company, its stock prices fluctuate a lot, so keep an eye out. The high-definition Blu-ray DVD and HD DVD battle has entered a fever pitch, and various content producers have also completed their lineups. However, the influence of online videos and pirated DVDs is also increasing, and the DVD market has a tendency to retreat. The prosperous decade of the DVD market seems to have come to an end. Opportunities always coexist with crises. When Blu-ray DVD and HD DVD finally won the battle, they did not want to be caught by streaming media overturned. Nancy Davis nodded. Netflix is a listed company. Paying attention to the stock price can indeed find many problems. After Nancy Davis left, Simon sat on the sofa and opened a newspaper. Sony Columbia's North American box office was $1.711 billion last year, accounting for 18.6% of the North American market share, ranking first in the sixth largest. Disney ranked second, with a box office of $1.494 billion, accounting for 16.2%. 20th Century Fox third, $1.398 billion, 15.2% share. Warner Brothers fourth, $1.066 billion box office, 11.6% share. Paramount fifth, $947 million, 10.3% share. Global sixth, $815 million, 8.9% share. There are 4 North American box offices that have exceeded $1 billion, and the share of the films released by the 6 major players exceeds 80%. Including the independent distribution under their group, it must be more than 90%. The independent publisher headed by Lionsgate has a long way to go. Chapter 84 Bad Momentum. At the beginning of 2007, the American Film and Television Golden Globe Awards was held at the Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills at number 1.15 as the first large-scale awards show of the year. The Best Director was won by Martin Scorsese of The Departed, but the Best Picture Drama category was lost to Babel. The Queen Wears Prada and Little Miss Sunshine, produced by Xinghai Pictures, were both shortlisted for the Best Film Comedy Music category, but lost to Dreamgirls. Only The Devil Wears Prada star Meryl Streep won for Best Actress in a Comedy Musical. Simon didn't go to the show anyway, and Anne Hathaway went to the UK to film her The Confused Detective, and Emily Blunt was working on 26 Dresses, neither of which was at the party. Xinghai Pictures, Mamma Mia, director Philip Lloyd and executive producer Judy Kramer are casting their cast. After Simon came in, he greeted the two and sat aside to watch Mamma Mia. The daughter of Meryl Streep and the heroine is Sophie, a young and beautiful girl. Hello everyone, I'm Amanda Seyfried. Came in a pretty young girl. Simon's eyes lit up, and Amanda Seyfried, the supporting character in Mean Girls, is now much less developed than another supporting character, Rachel McAdams. Mean Girls' Lindsay Lohan is of course the most popular, but Rachel McAdams has also gained a lot of popularity with The Notebook after Mandy Moore, Amanda Bynes and several other actresses also auditioned. Director Philip Lloyd asked with a smile, Simon, which one do you think is more suitable? Simon pulled out Amanda Seyfried's resume and said, she's good at acting, and she has a lot of acting experience. Although she's not well known, it's considered to be known to some people, and it should be suitable for our movie. Judy Kramer also nodded, originally looking for a more famous actress, but the budget was only $50 million, and it had to be spent where the movie should be. Director Philip Lloyd also has no opinion, as long as it can meet the requirements. There are many actors who are suitable. However, now the person in charge of the producer Fang Xinghai Pictures said that it was her. She could do it, and she could do it, Judy Kramer said. Several main actors still have a period of musical training, which is left to Benny Anderson. After all, he is the author and singer of the song. Simon nodded and said, let's prepare well, we will solve the issue soon. Back in his office, Simon looked at the progress of Iron Man. The progress was indeed a bit slow. He asked himself about everything. What's the use of you, Laura, the character actor in Iron Man? Let Kevin Feige decide some trivial matters. He is the head of Marvel Studios, so don't ask me anything. Simon leaned on. I feel a little uncomfortable in the chair, and I am very troubled now. I see. Maybe it's because this is the first time that Marvel Studios has made its own movie, or it's a big special effects blockbuster with an investment of over $100 million. I'm a little nervous. Laura Collins explained in a low voice. What are you nervous about? Kevin Feige has worked as a producer in the X-Men series, Spider-Man series, Fantastic Four series before, and he has enough experience, and now he has Zing-Hay Pictures just endorse it later, and execute it according to the plan made before. The production is not difficult, that is, the movie still doesn't know how to release it. Well, Marvel Studios has approached Kate Beckinsale, and she'd love to play Pepper. Laura Collins continued reporting. That's good. Simon is also a pity for this Kate Beckinsale. The two blockbusters Pearl Harbor and Van Helsing are on the street, and now they can only receive some small-budget independent films, which will be released in April this year. What kind of movie? Pinhole Hotel. Giving her the role of Pepper is not only prettier than Gwyneth Paltrow, but she can also join action scenes in the future, and the fighting scenes in Underworld may not be then. Simon, get up, let's go. It's time to go to the media conference of The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Zing-Hay Pictures, together with Warner Brothers, Paramount and Legendary Entertainment, produced a $150 million production by Village Roadshow Pictures, and of course the producer of the film must attend. Director David Fincher, lead actor Brad Pitt, lead actress Cate Blanchett and Simon Pike answer questions from reporters in a theater hall at Warner Brothers Studios. Pete, I heard that this movie will have your old and young characters. Pete, what do you think about playing someone who's been through life from old to young? Simon on the side looked at it. It was indeed the treatment of big stars, and David Fincher and Cate Blanchett were still not as good as Pitt. As for myself, I'm guessing it's a full-on person. Simon, can you tell me why you invested in Yahoo in the first place? A reporter suddenly asked Simon beside him. The other reporters also quieted down, and looked at each other. The return on investment was close to $500 million US. Simon was stunned for a moment. Well, just like investing in a movie, no one knows when the box office will explode. Be lucky, however, Simon. The global box office of the three films produced by Zing-Hay Pictures exceeded the production cost by more than 10 times. The reporter also reminded specially, and then the topic changed, when you were casting for The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Simon, can you tell me how you got the idea for Brad Pitt and Cate Blanchett? Simon looked at this guy and seemed to have some bad intentions. Brad Pitt did support George Clooney in the disagreement between himself and George Clooney. Simon smiled and said, the director and several other producers feel that Pitt is suitable, very suitable for the character, and the two of them have also cooperated before and won the Golden Globe Award for the Best Film Drama. Babel, Pitt's acting skills are very good and he has a lot of influence. As for Kate, she is not only beautiful, but also an Oscar nominee for Best Actress. I think their cooperation will be very smooth. Brilliant director, excellent actors, excellent plot. I have great confidence in this. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Please support me next year. After answering a few questions, the reporters also turned their attention to the directors and actors. After all, readers also like to read reports from Hollywood stars. Chapter 85 Julian Amp Reminder. The press conference for The Curious Case of Benjamin Button was followed by a banquet. Simon is well aware of the fact that reporters bring up this kind of separation between him and Brad Pitt. The publisher, Warner Brothers, can also use this to increase some publicity points, and they will have more exposure in the future. David, it's up to you to go to New Orleans in the future. There are a lot of scenes in the movie, right? Simon chatted with director David Finch. No problem, the comment you made last time was great. The way the special effects company made a CG avatar of Pitt on the head of the diminutive actor was great, and that's the biggest test of this movie, David said. Finch seems to be in a good mood. Simon nodded and saw Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie who were walking together on the opposite side. Mr. Pike, we have met. Angelina Jolie greeted. First just call me Simon. Simon shook hands with Angelina Jolie and smiled at Brad Pitt. Babel was very good, and The Curious Case of Benjamin Button can also let you play. Thank you, Simon. No one will doubt your vision in filmmaking. The news of Little Miss Sunshine nominated for Best Picture Oscar has come out. Last year's Juno was nominated for Best Picture Oscar for 2 consecutive years. Congratulations you. Although Brad Pitt's The Departed was also nominated, but because as a producer, the film's participation was not enough, the Oscar for Best Picture award has little to do with him. It's just a nomination, it's not an award, there's still a long way to go. Simon is now an independent production company, and he doesn't even have a distribution. Besides, he is not a person who pursues art. It's your plan B films, and the films you've participated in are not bad, Simon said, really admiring the small plan B films. Brad Pitt said with a smile, I'm just a studio, and the movies I'm participating in aren't under our control. It's far worse than Xinghai Pictures, of course, it is far from it. The plan B film industry is just looking for ideas, and looking for the support of filmmakers is an important business. Xinghai Pictures directly invests in the development of its own films, and the distributors also distribute their films on behalf of them. Xinghai Pictures can completely decide the movies it wants to develop, and Plan B is subject to distributors or investors. Take your time, the independent film market is getting smaller and smaller. Original films and art films still have to rely on independent film production companies, Simon said, looking at director David Fincher and laughing, I was right, hey, there's nothing you can do about it. Today's blockbusters are pursuing high-concept movies. They will only give resources to promising commercial productions. Those unprofitable literary and artistic films are not within the scope of their investigation, David Fincher also said. Have no choice. Afterwards, Simon walked away and let the director and the actor chat about the situation of the movie. Angelina Jolie came over and handed Simon a glass of wine. Is something wrong, Julie? Simon didn't know what she was doing here. Just curious, and at least we've met before, haven't we? Angelina Jolie also stretched out her elbows. Indeed, I was just a dispensable little guy on the set at that time. Simon also sighed, thinking that now, in terms of identity, status, and wealth, few stars can underestimate themselves. Angelina Jolie had no idea that the char on the set would now become the owner of a studio with a net worth of more than $500 million. Simon, I know about your conflict with Harvey Weinstein, but beware of him. Harvey Weinstein is a vengeful man, Angelina Jolie said in 1998. The release of Do As You Like It is with Harvey Weinstein's Miramax, and has also been threatened by Harvey, and has always hated him. Simon smiled. Angelina Jolie was also one of Harvey Weinstein's victims. He opened his mouth and said, I know, I'm not an actor, nor a small film producer. Is the current Weinstein films comparable to my Xinghai films? After acquiring Marvel, Xinghai Pictures is much more valuable than Weinstein Pictures. How can he deal with himself? Independent film distribution companies that are free from outside are not liked by blockbusters. Except for the fact that Xinghai Pictures has no distribution network, it does not lose to him in other aspects. Angelina Jolie nodded, which was true, and said, yes, Harvey Weinstein's biggest reliance is the Public Relations Oscar Award. In terms of capital, he is not as good as you. Simon looked at Jolie and said absent-mindedly, the ability of a person like him to be confident is also determined by the way Hollywood operates. In the society of capital, the most important thing is profitability, the domino effect. Julie, you should know that sometimes many things are just a fuse. Well, Angelina Jolie faced Simon Parker's radiant eyes, and suddenly felt a trace of fear in her heart. Dominoes. Angelina Jolie certainly understands that Harvey Weinstein has violated many years. Hollywood women, if lit, it must be a Hollywood shock, but who dares to point it? It is not just for one person, but this system. Simon, Simon smiled and waved his hand, you are facing Harvey's situation, and I am facing the same situation as I have faced the Big Six. I can only follow the trend. I am also a part of Hollywood. Simon is not stupid enough to ignite it, but it can help fuel the flames. In such a developed news media industry, people's privacy is getting less and less. Angelina Jolie seemed determined, nodded and said, if there is such a time, I will definitely stand up firmly, if not for myself, but also for other female compatriots. Simon smiled without saying a word. With this expression, the effect of dominoes is from beginning to end. When the time comes, everyone pushes the wall. How many people are trying to gain attention for themselves, and how many are sincere? Life depends entirely on acting, not to mention Hollywood, the center of the world's film industry. Looks like we have at least one thing in common, Simon said. Angelina Jolie hasn't worked with Harvey Weinstein in years, and it seems really annoying. Angelina Jolie looked at Simon's eyes and said, I don't know where your achievements will be in the future, but, among our female Hollywood members, there must be many people who like you and support your career. By the way, Simon, Sidney Pollack and British director Anthony Minghella's Phantom Studios seem to be looking for investor support recently. Angelina Jolie added Phantom Studios used to work with Miramax a lot. Chapter 86 The Reader. Xinghe Pictures. Simon is sitting in his office, and the project Phantom Studio is looking for investment is a movie based on the novel Life and Death. Life and Death is a story about a middle-aged woman and a teenager who fell in love in Germany after World War II, published in 1995 by the German writer Ben Hirschling. The work has been translated into 39 languages. It has sold millions of copies worldwide and was the first German novel to top the New York Times bestseller list. Simon remembers, The Reader is this movie, Kate Winslet's Oscar-winning movie. The global box office is also more than $100 million. It is definitely an art film with a good reputation at the box office. After all, this kind of art film, the star's salary is very low. Even Nicole Kidman will not exceed $3 million. In 2002, Cameron Diaz was paid $20 million for Charlie's Angels 2, but Gangs of New York in the same year only charged $500,000. For stars, commercial films are to increase exposure and influence, while literary films are to improve their acting skills and hone themselves. Laura, let Nina come to my office to discuss things. Simon asked the assistant outside to pass the message, and he was very interested in things that could not only make money for himself, but also make fun of Weinstein Pictures. Anthony Minghella, one of the directors of Phantom Studios, has directed The English Patient, The Genius Hopley and Cold Mountain. The three films were all released by Miramax. At that time Miramax is still headed by Harvey Weinstein. As for the other person in charge, Sidney Pollack, he is also an actor, director, and producer. In 2005, Nicole Kidman's Translation Storm was directed by him. If you don't start sooner, Phantom Studios will definitely seek cooperation with Weinstein Films, which is now owned by Harvey Weinstein. After a while, Nina Jacobson came to Simon's office, and Simon talked about the project of Life and Death. I'm going to talk to Sidney Pollack and Anthony Minghella, and I'm sure they won't reject our investment, Nina Jacobson said after hearing it. After all, the novel was published in 1995. Simon nodded. Phantom Studio is still pulling investment. Haven't they contacted Weinstein Films yet? The two of them had worked with Harvey Weinstein several times. Go ahead and finalize this project as soon as possible. Simon didn't want this project to belong to Weinstein Films again. After all, they have worked together several times and are acquaintances. Nina Jacobson nodded and left unexpectedly. Angelina Jolie just mentioned it casually, and it was considered a gift bag for herself after Phantom Studios obtained the film adaptation rights of the novel Life and Death. Anthony Minghella planned to direct it himself, but found it not suitable. Sidney Pollack, Anthony Minghella, and Nina Jacobson were sitting in a coffee shop in Beverly Hills chatting about the novel. If Anthony doesn't direct, who is the director you chose? Nina asked. After all, Anthony Minghella is famous. Sidney Pollack laughed. We talked to Stephen Deadly, the director of The Hours, and he's willing to direct and adapt the film. Nina Jacobson nodded and asked, Xinghe Pictures is interested in this movie. What do you two think? Nina, we are happy that someone has invested, but the budget for this film is over $30 million. Although many scenes were shot in Germany, we can get German film funds and tax rebates. But the final cost will be close to $30 million. Sidney Pollack's biggest worry is funding. After all, the film is too literary, and the big filmmakers don't like this genre at all. The only way to find an independent film company is to have a happy cooperation with the previous Miramax, but now Harvey Weinstein's Weinstein Films is not as well funded as it used to be. Weinstein Pictures now releases a large number of movies every year, and many movies need external financing. Life and Death is too literary, and there is no answer there. Nina smiled and said, you don't have to worry about the funding issue. I think that apart from Disney and our Xinghe Films, there is no company in Hollywood that does not need external funding for its films. As soon as these words came out, Anthony Minghella and Sidney Pollack were stunned for a moment, and it was true. Xinghe Pictures only produces 2 or 3 movies each year, and the cost is not large. Large-scale productions like The Curious Case of Benjamin Button are directly co-produced. That's great, but now we also have a disagreement about the choice of the heroine between the director and us. The director is looking at Kate Winslet, and we think Nicole Kidman, who we have worked with before, is also good, Sidney Pollack explained. However, Kate Winslet and Nicole Kidman should be out of schedule at the moment. One is filming Revolutionary Road and the other is filming Australia Chaos. Nina Jacobson said this doubt. Anthony Minghella said with a smile, Stephen Deadly is still thinking about how to adapt the script. When shooting starts, It is estimated that it will be the second half of the year the heroine candidate should be considered after the script is adapted. After all, there is no schedule for the actors you are interested in now, Nina Jacobson reminded. We think so too. Anthony Minghella said after Nina Jacobson left. Anthony Minghella said to Sydney Pollack, "Really work with Xinghe Pictures over Weinstein, Anthony. We've been preparing this movie for a few years. Harvey mentioned it when he was at Miramax, and now Weinstein Pictures has not given a clear answer. We can't wait any longer, Xinghe Pictures. There's nothing wrong with the money." Sydney Pollack felt as for the conflict between Simon Parker and Harvey Weinstein, "It has nothing to do with us. Our Phantom Studio has cooperated with so many film companies over the years, why can't we cooperate with Xinghe Pictures?" Anthony Minghella smiled, patted Sydney Pollack on the shoulder, and said, "That's right, we're just in charge of making movies." Anthony Minghella also understands the mood of his old friend Sydney Pollack. His body is getting worse and worse, so why not his own? "I don't know if I will be able to enter the first-line film production industry in the future. Chapter 87. You must give me a script." Okay, Phantom Studio and our Xinghe Films jointly developed Life and Death, and now the director is still looking for someone to adapt the script. Nina Jacobson is reporting to the work in Xinghe Films. "You have read the novel. The heroine is a strong and beautiful middle-aged woman." Simon leaned on the chair and smiled. "Although director Stephen Diddley and Nicole Kidman cooperated with the movie, the moment is very good, and Nicole Kidman won the Oscar for Best Actress. But this movie, he liked the heroine. It's Kate Winslet, and she does fit better in appearance." Anthony Minghella, their Phantom Studio and Nicole Kidman have worked together on several films. Nina Jacobson is also not easy to make a decision. After all, Nicole Kidman's relationship with Xinghe Pictures unusual. Ask, "Simon, what do you think? Let's talk about it. After the script is adapted, send it to the two of them to see." In short, they have to get in touch. The scale of this movie also depends on their thoughts. Simon didn't say anything. According to the original book, it is true it's time for Kate Winslet to play the role, but Nicole is an Oscar winner after all. Her acting skills are still good, and the settings can be changed a bit. It's all harmless. That's good. Anyway, we won't be able to start filming for a while, and the heroines that the director and producers are looking for have no schedule now. Nina Jacobson is also worried about the company's funds. After all, Mamma Mia invested $30 million, and the company only had $20 million left. Perhaps, again, Mamma Mia, take the bank mortgage loan. Spartan 300 Warriors will be released on 5.9, and The Devil Wears Prada is about to be released on DVD. The company will have a lot of revenue in the first half of this year. Simon saw that Nina was worried about funds. Completely, there is no need for this. Now, which movie is not profitable? It is still a big profit. If you have a distribution network, which part of the home entertainment market can be higher than the box office? Simon, I'm also worried. Now Iron Man is about to start filming, and the release has been suppressed. Now this Life and Death reading, I guess you will also suppress it. I'm afraid we won't be able to make it by then. Nina Jacobson is really worried that if Xinghe Pictures wants to enter the publishing industry, it really needs an opportunity. "Don't worry, I won't mess around. I spent so much money making a movie, and I didn't put it in the warehouse to eat ashes." Iron Man focuses on the Christmas schedule next year, while Life and Death reading is just literature and art. It does not require many resources for distribution, and it operates quickly. Not only that, but you have to go to various film festivals to buy movies and distribute them back. If you have your own production and distribution on the front line, the company will not have any major problems. Well, Our Little Miss Sunshine was nominated for Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Original Screenplay at this year's Oscars. The Devil Wears Prada was nominated for Best Actress. Nina Jacobson brought up the happy event. Xinghe Pictures has been nominated for the Best Picture Oscar for 2 consecutive years. It's just a nomination, but it will promote the DVD sales of Little Sunshine. Unfortunately, it has nothing to do with us. It was sold out at the beginning. Simon was stunned. The DVD of Little Sunshine was at the Oscars at the end of last month. After the nomination came out, it began to be sold. Now it has been 2.10, and it has been sold for half a month. Next year's Oscars, No Country for Old Men is definitely not going to accompany, and the future of Xinghe Pictures will also start a glorious journey in Brentwood, Los Angeles, at Nicole Kidman's luxury villa. Simon is called over to discuss matters. "This house is ready for sale. Do you want it?" Nicole Kidman said indifferently, "I want it. I don't like this style of construction in the 1940s and 1950s. I like the modern architectural style and the decoration with a stronger sense of technology. Simon shook his head. Either he would buy a small castle, which has a longer history, some are not. Oh, whatever. You made the Phoenix Fund, you said? Nicole Kidman has already received Simon's invitation, and she still believes in Simon's investment vision. Simon nodded. Yes, the manager is not me, it's Nancy Davis, and her team is also managing my funds. Oh, what are you going to invest in? I don't know much about investing. Anyway, I believe in your vision. Now I sell some properties and make a little profit. Nicole Kidman's biggest income is actually Juno, of course. The Devil Wears Prada, which was released last year, has already made money at the box office. The main part is the home entertainment market, with 20% of the producer's income. Investment is a complicated thing to say. Diversification of investment can also increase the ability to resist risks, Simon said, sitting on the sofa and looking around the hall. My investment fund is better than your investment in simply buying a house. Okay, I've sold some properties, leaving only the properties that belong to the top rich areas, Nicole Kidman said, handing Simon a glass of red wine. Don't worry, the Phoenix Fund will definitely make you money. Simon took the red wine and took a sip. Shouldn't you be shooting Australia's chaos in Australia now? Going back to Los Angeles on purpose for this? Simon said and pointed to the villa again. Nicole Kidman sighed. Next week is the Oscars. Shouldn't you be a star? Oh, yes. Simon nodded as if suddenly realized, the stars want to use Oscar to maintain their influence. This annual film industry event, many stars will not take the initiative to be absent. The Deadly Call I starred in was released on 8.17, and now after the preview session, there seems to be some problems, Nicole Kidman said with some concern. The movie with Daniel Craig, the movie about alien viruses, the drama. Simon knew that Nicole Kidman in Deadly Visit also received $16 million in remuneration, and Warner Brothers' big Margaret at the Wedding is a low-cost comedy movie starring you and Jack Black. It will be released in November, and then the magical children's blockbuster The Golden Compass will be released in December. Simon also felt helpless. You can play 3 movies at the same time, drama, comedy, and magic. Simon, if my films continue to fail this year, you know what's going to happen, Nicole Kidman said, staring into Simon's eyes. You gotta give me a good script. Chapter 88 American Cultural Export. The 79th Academy Awards in 2007 were held at the Dolby Theater in Hollywood, Los Angeles, California, USA at 20:30 on February 25, Eastern Time. By the famous stand-up comedian Ellen DeGeneres. The host. The Departed won 2 awards for Best Picture and Best Director. Xinghai Pictures' family road comedy Little Miss Sunshine won the Best Supporting Actor award and Best Original Screenplay. The Best Actor is Forrest Whitaker for The Last Dictatorship. Another Black Oscar winner, Helen Mirren, unsurprisingly, won the actress through the movie The Queen. Beverly Hills, Simon's house. Emily Blunt is changing and has just come over from the Kodak Theater. And Anne Hathaway awarded the Best Costume Design. It's interesting, Simon joked. Waiting for Emily Blunt to come out. Fortunately, it's quite suitable for the two of us to award awards, Emily Blunt said, sitting next to Simon, and sighed. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be eligible to participate in the Vanity Fair dinner. At most, the guests at the Vanity Fair dinner are only around 1,500 people, and there are more than a few people participating in the Oscar party. The Vanity Fair dinner invites all the Oscar winners and nominees. Of course, the main thing is to invite other big-name filmmakers, film company executives, producers, directors, stars, fashion models and a series of others. After all, there are a lot of big-name filmmakers who didn't attend the Oscars because they didn't have a production, and of course they were invited to the Vanity Fair dinner. Simon smiled and said, "Don't worry, it won't happen in the future." The Vanity Fair dinner was originally just a large party, and anyone with a topic is invited soon. You can do it. I didn't get the Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress this time, but Dakota Fanning got it for Little Miss Sunshine, Simon said and kissed the girl on the face one bite. Fortunately, I was nominated for Best Supporting Actress at the American Film and Television Golden Globe Awards, Emily Blunt said, standing up and turning around. Is this suit nice? A blue sloping shoulder evening dress looks a little playful, but it does look beautiful. Simon got up and said, let's go. When Vanity Fair magazine came up with this Oscar dinner, it was indeed a very genius idea. In the past 10 years, the circulation of Vanity Fair has become larger and larger, and its influence has also increased. More and more, the filming of 26 Dresses is about to start. I should have prepared the role. I met your friend Jennifer Smith. She is beautiful and serious, Emily Blunt said as she walked. She is also going to film Gossip Girl with Blake Lively. This year should be very fulfilling. Simon has not seen Jennifer Smith for a long time. More than 2 years have passed in a flash. Simon feels that he is really a kind person and is too good to people. After walking down Sunset Boulevard and entering Hollywood Boulevard, this year's Oscars Vanity Fair dinner was held in the ballroom above the Kodak Theater. Entering the theater with Emily Blunt, Simon saw a tall, beautiful figure on the red carpet. Sharapova, the U.S. Open Grand Slam winner last year, was only 17 years old when she won her first Wimbledon Grand Slam in 2004, and she is only 20 years old this year. She has 2 Grand Slams, Simon said. Pike still likes this Russian tennis beauty. Oscar invited the Williams sisters from the tennis world to the Vanity Fair dinner last year, and she invited her again this year. Oscar is now approaching the sports circle, Simon said, while looking at the young Sharapova baby in the banquet hall. Emily Blunt went to The Queen Wears Prada and Simon went to Little Miss Sunshine. Congrats, of course, to Alan Arkin, who won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, and the screenwriter who won Best Original Screenplay. Simon, long time no see. Rob Moore, the vice chairman of Paramount Pictures and Brad Gray's deputy, came over. It's not long. I've only seen it at the seminar of The Curious Case of Benjamin Button before. Simon smiled and walked to the corner with Rob Moore. There must be something he wanted to ask himself. This year's Oscars ceremony is still very diverse and international. 2 Mexican directors' works, Babel and Pan's Labyrinth, received 13 nominations, as well as Queen and the Last Dictatorship. It's a popular film at the Venice Film Festival, the Toronto Film Festival, etc. Rob Moore first talked to Simon about the Oscars just now. Rob, don't you think that if Babel were an American director, this year's best film wouldn't be The Departed? It would definitely be Babel. Simon said and drank a glass of wine, talking about artistry. Infernal Affairs really can't compare to Babel. Tower is this year really diverse? The well-received Tower of Babel and Pan's Labyrinth received a lot of nominations, but they basically didn't win. Who is this year's winner? In the end, it was the pure American culture film, The Departed, that won the Best Picture. While Dreamgirls describes the history of black pop music in the United States, the American family warmth of Little Miss Sunshine, An Inconvenient Truth, which criticizes the U.S. government's environmental protection policies. The nature of the Oscars is still American movies and American values. An embodiment of the exported American beliefs and culture diversification. Internationalization is nothing more than a thrown dog bone. Foreign films that have won Oscars usually express the inferiority of their countries or show the lack of civilization. Does the United States have inferiority? So much that America doesn't have human rights issues? That's more, however. The mainstream in the United States is to show the superiority and democratic freedom of the American nation, and to export American values. Rob Moore smiled. Paramount's attitude towards Oscar is very bland, and it's all about the main creator of the movie. Simon, Marvel Studios' comic reform superhero movie Iron Man has started. Previously, due to the acquisition of Marvel Studios, the film distribution issue that we were negotiating with Paramount was also interrupted. Now you don't want to talk about it again? Rob Moore said the purpose. Simon was stunned for a moment. Does Paramount still remember this? Now, the CEO of the new Viacom is not Tom Freston, the former chairman of the MTV network who was in charge of the new Viacom group after the spin-off of Viacom in 2005. Last September, Summer Redstone parachuted into Los Angeles, and Tom Cruise was not alone in the bad luck. Tom Freston, CEO of the new Viacom group, was replaced by Philip Dorman. Philip Dorman had been Viacom's chief lawyer and a very trustworthy person around Summer Redstone. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89. Viacom chairman Philip Dorman and CBS Group chairman Lem Moonves are now Summer Redstone's right-hand man. Paramount is just a subsidiary of Viacom Group. Last year, Summer Redstone checked Paramount's performance. Wouldn't he let Paramount continue to discuss distribution with Marvel Pictures? Simon can of course perfunctory in the face of Rob Moore's inquiry. After all, he is mainly a person in the production department. But what should I do if Brad Gray restarts negotiations? After all, the previous negotiation had already begun, and it was suspended because of his own intervention. On the other side, Anne Hathaway was chatting with Emily Blunt when she spotted Simon Pike not far away. Emily, Is Xinghe Pictures 26 Dresses about to start filming? There shouldn't be any problems, right? Anne Hathaway asked. Emily Blunt shook her head and said, no, filming started on 3.5, I haven't heard of any problems. Also, there is no problem with another movie Mamma Mia that Xinghe Pictures participated in. Ms. Streep is still the heroine of the movie. Anne Hathaway nodded, and then Simon Pike approached. It seems that the judges at the Academy of Oscars don't like our fashion-type movies very much, Simon said regretfully when he came to the two of them, but his expression was very relaxed. Simon. Anne Hathaway hugged Simon and whispered in Simon's ear, okay, let's have a drink. Although I didn't win an award, why didn't I see Ms. Streep? Simon really didn't see Meryl Streep go home. I went home after the Oscars, Anne Hathaway said regretfully. It seems that many people are not very keen on this kind of party, Simon said while looking at the surrounding crowd. Simon, Anne, Emily. Nicole Kidman with a beaming face came over and hugged the three of them separately. Nicole Kidman is also one of the film's investors, and is also a nominal producer, and Huaing Production is also a nominal production company, United Nations Women's Development Fund's Goodwill Ambassador, Australia's highest medal of honor. Congratulations. Simon knew a little about Nicole Kidman's glee. I'm happy for the movie we made, Nicole said, casting a blank glance at Simon. Let's take a photo together. A reporter from Vanity Fair suggested. Simon also has no objection. The three beauties seem to feel pretty good. Taking pictures with different types of Hollywood beauties seems to be a compulsory course in the future. Simon, are you planning to develop that life and death reading? I received a message from the producer Anthony Minghella. Nicole was actually a little puzzled. I heard Harvey Weinstein talk about this project before. Really? Phantom Studio has indeed been in contact with the Weinstein films for a long time. They haven't waited for a reply, and now we have taken over from Xinghe Films. Simon originally cut his teeth from Weinstein Films. Simon, why don't you wait until I finish Australian Chaos and then make your life and death? Nicole Kidman does have only one movie currently being filmed. How? Australian Chaos is developing in an epic direction. Are you sure you have a schedule? Simon knew that there were various overruns during the filming of Australian Chaos, and of course it took longer then. Haven't you started preparing for the shooting yet? Maybe I have a schedule by then, Nicole Kidman said, seeming to be very interested. Well, let's talk about it when the time comes. The script is still being adapted, the director has filmed the moment, and you are familiar with it. The heroine he likes is Kate Winslet. Simon was actually inclined to be loyal to the original. After all, the supporters of the novel are very important. Nicole Kidman frowned and sighed. You don't doubt my acting, do you? Just as Simon was about to respond, there was an exclamation at the door, and many people turned their attention to the direction where the door came in. It's News Corporation. Chairman Rupert Murdoch and his wife, Anne Hathaway, whispered. I didn't expect such a big man to come to the party tonight. Simon laughed, also looking at his Chinese wife, Wendy Deng. Mr. Murdoch rarely manages 20th Century Fox directly, and does not attend Oscar or Vanity Fair dinners very often, usually mainly at 20th Century Fox movie celebration dinners. Nicole Kidman is also Australian, make it clearer. Simon smiled and said, his wife is a little interested in the film industry. In the current Asian film market, Hollywood's eyes are only on RB, and the future Chinese market is the most important. By the way, Nicole, News Corporation has a godlike existence in Australia. I heard that News Corporation's eldest son, Lachlan Murdoch, is invincible in the Australian media industry. Simon suddenly asked such a question. News Corporation, the eldest son is in charge of the Australian division, and the second son is now the president of Sky TV Europe. Nicole said with a smile. News Corporation controls almost 23 newspapers in Australia. After so many years, of course it's amazing. Simon shook his head and said, however, it's a pity that with a population of more than 30 million, how can it satisfy News Corporation, the largest market in North America, and the second largest market in Europe, is the focus of News Corporation's pursuit. After all, News Corp moved its headquarters from Adelaide, Australia to Delaware, USA in 2004. Rupert Murdoch is 76 years old this year, of course, compared to another Hollywood tycoon, 84-year-old Summer Redstone, still relatively young. Simon looked over there. News Corporation had acquired MySpace social software before, and now News Corporation is preparing to acquire the publishing giant Dow Jones Group. The Dow Jones Stock Price Index, compiled and published by the Dow Jones Group, is even more well known. The Dow Jones Company, founded in 1882, also owns the Wall Street Journal newspaper, which provides in-depth analysis and reports on the business and financial fields. and provides real-time financial reports and market comments. Dow Jones Newswire's Alice News Corp is getting bigger and bigger now. Production and distribution of movies and TV shows, wireless, satellite and cable TV, newspapers, magazines and books, advertising production and distribution, digital television, conditional access and subscribers management systems, creation and distribution of online programs and social networks. Of course, Simon envied a large group with a market value of tens of billions of dollars. Chapter 93 TV series. Xinghe Pictures, Sonia Roman, who came to Los Angeles from New York, was excited, and the first album of the same name of Star Records singer Taylor Swift sold more than 2 million copies. Simon, your vision is very accurate. The future of our country music diva is bright. Sonia Roman is indeed more suitable for the record industry. What about the Adele in the UK? Has Valentino persuaded him? How could Adele be missing from the four queens of Star Records that Simon wants to create? It's been signed. Valentino thinks her future is limitless, with an angelic voice and unparalleled talent. Sonia Roman complimented. That's good. Simon nodded. In this shrinking period of the traditional record industry, Simon certainly will not waste much energy to develop. Just be an independent music production company, and then cooperate well with online music service providers. By the way, Sonia, the zombie-themed comic The Walking Dead released by Image Comics, Xinghe Pictures are preparing to adapt it to TV. You go and get in touch with them. Simon leaned on the chair. The Walking Dead comic in 2003 just released. Resident Evil 3 will be released this year. The Walking Dead episodes can be put on the agenda. Sonia Roman nodded. The hottest zombie movie in recent years has been Mila Jovovich's Resident Evil series. The Walking Dead is the TV version of Resident Evil. By the way, Simon, the CW is willing to support our $2 million first episode of Gossip Girl to get our TV premiere, said Sonia Roman. It turned out to be the CW TV station. Yes, it seems that the Lionsgate TV production department produced a plot for AMC TV station Mad Men, the writer and editor-in-chief of The Sopranos. Simon feels a pity. It can be produced by Xinghe Entertainment. Sonia Roman laughed. AMC Basic Cable, which used to broadcast classic movies, has not been broadcasting its own series for a long time. Sonia Roman doesn't like AMC TV. After all, AMC was a paid movie channel before, but it was converted to a basic cable network because of the ratings. Simon sighed. These days, Simon has found a lot of good dramas from the TV scripts he has collected, and some of them have been discovered by other TV production companies. AMC's Mad Men broke the precedent for basic cable TV stations to win the Emmy Awards. After all, the TVs that usually won the Emmy Awards before were all wireless TV stations and premium channels. Sonia, X-Files screenwriter Vince Gilligan has a script Breaking Bad in hand, and since 2005, Showtime, FX, Syfy, TNT, HBO and many other TV stations have handed them over. The Breaking Bad script on the internet was thrown into the trash. Of course Simon wants to snatch this AMC drama. Mad Men and The Big Bang Theory can't grab it. Of course he wants this one. Those TV stations are not optimistic. Should we still make it? Of course Sonia Roman was puzzled. Simon Pike said with a light-hearted expression, the reason for the rejection of those TV station executives is very simple. I think no one wants to watch a story about a middle-aged uncle selling drugs in New Mexico, and he is still a big villain at the beginning. The script of Little Miss Sunshine also thought that no one would watch a bland American family road comedy movie, and it turned out, Simon said and laughed, he was like a garbage transfer station, and took out the fine creative script inside Simon. In this case, most of the production costs of the premiere episode will be financed by ourselves. Sonia Roman reminded. The more optimistic the TV station is about the script, the more readily they will pay for the premiere rights. Don't worry, I believe in Vince Gilligan. He can direct and edit, and he's a very talented filmmaker. Simon will shoot the first season of Breaking Bad even at his own expense, but the Gossip Girl we made this year is going to be released in September. There shouldn't be time to develop the two, Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead, right? Sonia Roman was a little puzzled and made 3 films at a time. Drama, Breaking Bad was produced by Vince Gilligan, and we'll put it on TV next year. As for The Walking Dead, I'll put it on the next year. Simon felt that the company had to produce at least one show every year. The TV production department of Xinghe Entertainment should not be underestimated. The screenwriters strike at the end of the year. Simon must start these screenwriters now. Gossip Girl, don't worry. The Walking Dead can also start preparations in 2008. Breaking Bad depends on Vince Gilligan's own screenwriter's ability. Fortunately, the first season of Breaking Bad was short, And even if the writer's strike came, Vince Gilligan himself could improve the script. Okay, give me the scripts for these 2 TV episodes, Sonia Roman said, looking at Simon again and asking, how many screenplay ideas did you find this from? About 700 copies. I think Laura Collins or Martha Cosby will check it out for good ideas and win over what they can win. Simon said after all, his memory is not that good. Many things have to have an opportunity to be remembered. Sonia Roman nodded and continued, you said earlier that we would also prepare a reality show? Yeah, do you have an idea? Simon of course agreed. The video of Kim Kardashian's bed that broke out last month was very popular. As the daughter of a lawyer in the Simpson case, there is no shortage of topics. Her mother, Kris Kinner, is a TV producer who participated in having worked on Dancing with the Stars. Kris Kinner recently had an idea for a family reality show. Supporter, Xinghe TV supports her in making this show. Simon knew before Sonia Roman could finish the famous Keeping Up with the Kardashians family reality show previously. Kim Kardashian was the little valet of the rich lady Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton's popularity increased greatly after the video incident in 2003. I didn't expect her little valet to follow suit now. Simon really didn't expect that this is the popular reality show that was sent over. Sonia Roman was stunned for a moment. This is too fast, but the family's reputation is not very good. Then I'll contact Kris Kinner to start the preparations? Compared with making money, wind reviews and so on are sidelined. Hurry up. This is our Xinghe Entertainment's first entry into the reality show. Simon nodded quickly. Chapter 91 Subprime Loans. In Manhattan, New York, Simon is sitting in his office of the Nine-Headed Bird Fund, and the news is reporting that New Century Financial, the second largest subprime mortgage company in the United States, declared bankruptcy on March 14. U.S. Treasury Undersecretary Robert Steele said the U.S. government is closely watching the problems emerging in the subprime mortgage industry and believes the current situation is certainly manageable. Simon, since 2005, there have been default repayments. Do you think the subprime loan market will burst? Nancy Davis has a hard time believing that such a huge market built by Wall Street elites will burst. Simon smiled and said, New Century Finance is just the first step. Pay close attention to the stock price of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. In the financial crisis of the 1930s, Roosevelt's New Deal shouted the slogan of home ownership in the United States, and made from a private equity company like Freddie Mac that is implicitly guaranteed by the government, and then a Fannie Mae. The bonds of the two houses are rated as top-level credit bonds just like the national debt. Commercial banks lend money to people with low credit assessments and charge high interest to let them buy a house and make subprime loans. In order to avoid risks, they pool these mortgages together to form a mortgage-backed securities, MBS, that is lower than subprime mortgages. The profit is higher than the mortgage interest and sold to an investment bank. After the investment banks bought back these mortgage securities, they began to design financial derivatives to extend the financial line. They also packaged these into subordinated bonds, collateralized debt obligations, CDOs, and sold them to the world. The investment banks also a new product, credit default swap, CDS, has been designed, so that if investors who buy subprime bonds are worried about the risk, they can also buy credit default swaps and let insurance companies take part of the risk. After Simon finished speaking, he looked at Nancy Davis and smiled. HSBC, let's not talk about these large commercial banks, and then involve Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, and other big investment banks, and subprime loans, corporate contacts, and finally brought in the insurance industry. The real estate in the U.S. has become so big. Half of the blame lies with the 5 major investment banks. Your Wall Street elites develop financial derivatives as much as Hollywood develops movies. Nancy Davis smiled. She was also a former executive of Goldman Sachs, one of the 5 largest investment banks. Simon, the two houses are endorsed by the U.S. government. At present, the funds involved in the two houses exceed $5 trillion. Various investment banks, hedge funds and state pensions have bought many shares and bonds of the two houses. Nancy Davis certainly doesn't believe there will be a big bubble in the housing market right now. There will be, but it's not going to be allowed to happen from top to bottom. The market determines capital. Nancy, in fact, you know very well that these CDOs are just a bunch of junk put together. What about CDS insurance, and the junk with insurance? Is the credit assessment still credible now? Simon leaned on the chair, with a dull face. Goldman Sachs gave those subprime bonds a 2A, and for what? You should be very clear. Many elites on Wall Street are aware of the existence of this bubble. Although they have added an insurance policy. The route is chaotic. The market is too hot now, so who is the biggest taker now? Nancy Davis said, subprime mortgage buyers, subprime investors, and of course Merrill Lynch, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns 5 investment banks. Simon, do you know what will happen if there is a problem with subprime loans? Nancy Davis looked serious. Many buyers can't pay the loan, the house price falls, and the capital is insolvent. The bank forcibly repossesses the property, but a lot of bad debts. The 5 major investment banks will be dragged to death by the loan, which will trigger a new round of financial crisis. Simon nodded and continued, in addition to the strength of the US dollar after the Iraq War, and the US's control of Iraqi crude oil, the US is now stronger. Perhaps this time it should be called a financial tsunami more appropriately, Nancy Davis said with a wry smile. Everyone knows this, but the US government will not let the subprime market collapse. After all, no one knows when the bubble will burst, and no one feels that they are the last takers. Yeah, Nancy, Simon walked over, patted her on the shoulder, and laughed. If God wants to destroy it, he must first make it crazy. By the way, Simon, Apple's stock price has been rising since the launch of the new phone. When we started, it was $60 to $70 per share. The 9-head fund bought about 3 million shares according to your request. Now the stock price it's almost $90. Nancy Davis said with a laugh. Relax, when Apple's new phone is officially launched in the second half of the year, I think the stock price can at least double. Simon is quite familiar with Apple. These 3 million Apple shares account for about 0.56% of Apple's shares. The market value of Apple's $1.5 trillion in the future is $8 or $9 billion. After all, Apple's market value is less than $50 billion. You do short-term investment? Nancy Davis was a little surprised. You are optimistic, and the rally is not bad now. You want to sell well, let's talk about it when the time comes. You can also use this stock as a mortgage for a bank loan, as long as it rises well. Simon was also tempted by what she said. I have acquired more than 3 million shares of Apple in 2 or 3 months. Wouldn't it be too much of a pity if I sold it? By the way, the Phoenix Fund has received an investment of $10 million from Hollywood, and the 9-headed bird has about 10 million. Now there is only so much that can be used. Nancy Davis really did not expect that Hollywood the stars are so generous who invested in Nicole Kidman and Anne Hathaway, $8 million and $2 million, laughed Nancy Davis. It turns out that you can buy some of the company stocks I mentioned to you before. After all, it is better to use my funds in venture capital. The high-risk game is not suitable for Phoenix Fund. Simon plans to make Phoenix Fund a famous company in the future. The private equity fund of the company can also act as an ammunition depot for itself at that time, and now it needs a stable rate of return. Walking out of the office of the 9-headed bird fund, Simon came to Manhattan's Central Park, and it was still a little cold in New York in March. However, Simon smelled the hot money here, and he could not feel the slightest cold wind in his hot heart go crazy. Dinner before you die is the craziest. Chapter 92 Ambitious Women. At the Marriott International Hotel in New York, Simon had just spoken for 2 hours with Lionsgate president Michael Burns and production and acquisitions manager Peter Bullock. After sending the two away, Simon returned to the living room of the suite, and assistant Laura Collins said, "Boss, Lionsgate actually wants to acquire our company. Don't worry about them. Lionsgate is just thinking about it, not to mention that we have Marvel now. Just rely on Lionsgate to focus on making B-level market movies of horror, thriller, family ethics, and political topics. Just follow me." It's not a way. Simon always felt that it was difficult to make money from the movie itself without developing derivatives. Lionsgate Entertainment is now a model of this kind of performance. Starting from the earliest acquisition of a Canadian distribution company, Lionsgate has used the financing raised from the capital market since 2002 to buy distribution companies to enrich its film library. After successive acquisitions of Artisan Entertainment Company, Modern Entertainment Company and Red Bus Film Distribution Company, which have a large number of film rights, Lionsgate has more than 8,000 films, becoming the largest film company in the film library. Of course, the vast majority of Lionsgate is a library of non-mainstream movies, and with a huge library of non-mainstream TV titles, Lionsgate is indeed unusual. The home entertainment market provides the most funds, and Lionsgate is also very concerned about film production. Simon actually has a good impression of Lionsgate's CEO John, and strictly controls costs, which is very suitable for managing a sub-label of Xinghai Pictures that specializes in genre films in the future, but their movie audience is so small, so many movies are released every year, and many are only released in a few theaters, and then directly released on DVD. Laura Collins believes that the movies produced by Xinghai Pictures, then more influence these types of movies played by Lionsgate's owners are all types that are easy to break out at the box office at low cost, not to mention the Chainsaw series. Isn't that the case with Fahrenheit 9/11 before? Although Simon is not very professional in this kind of horror and bloody movies, but this type of movie has a low cost and is most likely to be small and big boss. Are we going to build such a label in the future? Just like Weinstein's Demon Pictures, Laura Collins stared. Simon nodded. This must be indispensable. Fox Atomic Films managed by Fox Searchlight, Screen Treasure Pictures under Sony Columbia, Roger Pictures managed by Universal Focus Pictures are all brands for genre films. By the way, the reality show that we support, the Kardashian family, should start preparations now? Simon was still a little concerned about this. Sonia has already negotiated with Chris Kinner, and the preparations are now starting, and Chris Kinner has experience in TV show production, so it should be smooth. Sonia is now helping the company negotiate The Walking Dead and Absolutely Dead End project. Laura Collins is still very competent at her job, and of course in other ways as well. In the evening, Simon came to Manhattan's Peninsula Hotel in New York for a large party, initiated by Rupert Murdoch and his wife, Ms. Wendy Deng. Celebrities, fashion and business are numerous, and Rupert Murdoch's reputation is indeed big enough. Simon Pike: good evening, I'm so young, I heard Tom mention you. Xinghai Pictures is very good. Rupert Murdoch deliberately chatted with Simon. Tom is the president of 20th Century Fox Pictures. Rothman: Mr. Murdoch, it's also because 20th Century Fox has a lot of publicity and has an advantage in distribution. Simon Pike said and shook his hand. There is another big production released by Xinghai Pictures in the summer. I'm looking forward to it. Murdoch said of 300 Spartans, I'm looking forward to it too. Simon murmured inwardly, and 26 Dresses is also released this year. And next year there will be Mamma Mia. Are your films released by 20th Century Fox? You have a good investment in YouTube. You have a good eye. Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation paid $550 million for the social media network Misspeak in 2005. Book. Well, that's how the technology industry is. There are many startups every day, and successful companies are of course sought after. Simon knew that News Corporation now spends a lot of money to make a difference on social media. On the other side, Rupert Murdoch's wife, Wendy Deng, is chatting with Chinese actress Zhang Ziyi and his boyfriend, Ivy Nuo. I'll go over there. Ivy Nuo seemed to have seen an acquaintance, greeted the two and left. Wendy: that young man chatting with Mr. Murdoch is Mr. Simon Parker, the boss of Xinghai Pictures? Zhang Ziyi looked over there and asked. Wendy Deng nodded and looked at Ivy Nuo. At the end of last year, Zhang Ziyi and Ivy Nuo were introduced to each other. They got together in January this year. Simon Pike, an independent producer who has risen rapidly in the past 2 years, is not only young, but also talented. He is also a rich boss in Hollywood. Last year, he made $500 million in one investment. Wendy Deng explained, ignoring Zhang Ziyi's surprise expression, continued to speak. The films produced by Xinghai Pictures have a good reputation in box office. Juno and Little Miss Sunshine have been nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, and The Devil Wears Prada also has a global box office of more than $300 million. Simon Parker is very good at making big heroine movies, and he is currently the filmmaker I most want to work with. Wendy Deng has now at Zhuaiwo.com China that is sensible, but has always been interested in movies. It doesn't look like it, but it looks like there are more Hollywood stars. Zhang Ziyi stunned. 20th Century Fox has a distribution contract with Xinghai Pictures, and he will release 3 of his films this year and next year. Wendy Deng wants to expand his contacts, but actually wants to win over Xinghai Pictures. Zhang Ziyi nodded. If there is such a person in Hollywood to help, it will be much easier to break into the international film and television circle. Ivy Nuo, one of the investors of Goldman Sachs, owns shares of Time Warner and a part of Weinstein Pictures, but compared to Simon Pike's $500 million in assets, it's not enough to look at. Both ambitious women seem to think that Simon Pike was a very worthwhile person to befriend. Chapter 93 Big Market. Simon, I have always heard that you prefer to study Chinese culture. I will introduce you to a Chinese actor, Wendy Deng said, introducing Zhang Ziyi to Simon. Hello, Miss Zhang, I've read Memoirs of a Geisha. Simon said and shook hands with her. I see, Mr. Parker, what do you think of that movie? Zhang Ziyi asked eagerly. The three Chinese actors performed well, but I have no interest in RB culture, so I have no opinion. How can Simon directly say that other people's movies are not good? Simon, have you ever thought about China's film market? It has a population of 1.3 billion. Now China's film industry is developing rapidly, and more Chinese film stars are entering Hollywood. Wendy Deng reminded. Simon nodded and said, "Of course I know, but unfortunately now I'm just an independent production company. Wait for the future. At present, the Chinese market is still very small, and only 12% of the film is divided every year, and there are only 10 places. Most of the films are introduced as batch films. The Asian market is still dominated by RB. Of course, the future Chinese market will definitely be the key direction." After a while, Zhang Ziyi's new boyfriend, Ivy Nguyen, came over. Simon Parker didn't know him, but he knew he was a pseudo-rich man who had invested in Time Warner and Weinstein Pictures. After a casual chat, Simon Parker left. Whether it was Wendy Deng or Zhang Ziyi, they were very ambitious people, and they would do anything to achieve their goals. As Rupert Murdoch's wife, Wendy Deng has also given birth to 2 daughters. She has been very low-key before, and now she has a substantial position at News Corporation, director of Jiawo.com China. Deacon looking at Ivy Nguyen next to Zhang Ziyi, and thinking about the future of the beach store. Wendy Deng, an ambitious and sociable person, does indeed have the advantage of entering Hollywood holding a glass of wine. Simon was thinking about the world's second largest market in the future, and he really needs to start thinking about it. Jet Li's Ho Yuanju had a good box office in North America last year, with more than $24 million, and this year will also release an R-rated action movie Ranger with Jason Statham, Jackie Chan's Rush Hour 3, which will be released this summer, and The King of Kung Fu, which is also being prepared for cooperation with Jet Li. Are also about to start filming. Jet Li will also shoot The Mummy 3, released by Universal Pictures. Both are Sino-US co-productions. Jackie Chan and Jet Li, 2 cards that have entered Hollywood. Of course, for Simon, there is no need to understand China through Wendy Deng. Who can understand the great powers on the other side of the Pacific Ocean better than himself? Hey, Simon, why are you frowning? Emma Watts, the vice president of 20th Century Fox Pictures, came over and asked with a smile, "Ms. Watts, last year's X-Men 3, The Last Stand box office was good, and this year's Fantastic Four 2 will be released again. The superhero adaptation movie seems to be very handy." Simon is now the boss of Marvel, of course, for superhero movies. Simon, as you know, we at 20th Century Fox and your Marvel Entertainment have almost finished writing the script for X-Men, Wolverine. The better the movie, the better it will be for your Marvel Entertainment, isn't it? Of course, Emma Watts knew that Xinghai Entertainment was working hard to take back Marvel's copyrights, such as Deadpool. But Deadpool is ready to join the prequel. And the cast has already been set now, except for the X-Men series and Spider-Man series. Other Marvel-adapted movies have not met expectations. The gap between us and DC is still very large. Simon is now trying to put the 20th Century Fox's Deadpool copyright is coming back, and Wolverine will make a mess of Deadpool. The Marvel adaptation movies to be released this year include Spider-Man 3, Fantastic Four 2 and Ghost Rider. These are 3 movies with bad reputation. Simon, DC's Superman Returns also has a bad reputation, right? Emma Watts smiled. But the restart of Batman has a good reputation, Simon said helplessly. The influence of Superman and Batman is too great, and the entire Marvel system is only comparable to Spider-Man. The Invincible Hulk and Iron Man you are filming now should be released next year. You should be very confident. Emma Watts is very much about Simon Parker's acquisition of Marvel Entertainment and then privatization. What hero needs to be shot? Just buy it and shoot it. Simon shook his head and said, "The filming has just started, and we will have to wait until it is released to know what the result will be." Emma Watts smiled, patted Simon on the shoulder and said, "Okay, enjoy the party." After Emma Watts left, Simon walked to the lounge area on the side of the party and sat down. The growth of the North American domestic film market has reached a bottleneck, and the expansion of overseas markets is now very important. Western Europe, RB, Latin America, and Australia are all very important. English-speaking areas such as the United Kingdom and Australia are the backyard. Germany, France, Italy, RB and Latin America, for local language reasons, all require professional distribution. Simon, good evening. Simon smiled, hugged the visitor, and said, "Good evening." Ryan Cavalog, the founder of Relativity Entertainment, is only 33 years old. Relativity Entertainment, like Legendary Entertainment, is a Platter investment film company established in 2004. Like Legendary Entertainment, it's a Hollywood guest with a lot of money raised from Wall Street. Simon, Paul Sheen Elliott Management, a hedge fund established by Grid, is interested in our theory of relativity, and will definitely hold some equity in the theory of relativity at that time, and will provide us with about $1 billion of funds, and the theory of relativity will soon be able to independently invest in movies, Rui said. And Korog looked happy. On the curious case of Benjamin Button, Relativity Entertainment did not cooperate with Xinghai Films because the investment fund behind the company was not optimistic about the film's prospects based on data algorithms. After all, Relativistic Entertainment is now just an intermediary, introducing Merrill Lynch, Goldman Sachs or various hedge funds to film companies. Now with the direct support of hedge funds, the independence of the theory of relativity is greater. Ryan, Relativity Entertainment entered Hollywood with such a big fanfare. Wouldn't you just want to enter the film industry and enter the production industry? Simon grinned wickedly. Haha, Simon, our thoughts are the same. Now Hollywood is chasing capital. Overseas funds, hedge funds, private equity funds, etc. Relativity Entertainment is to use scientific data to change Hollywood's model, Rui said. And Kavlog looked confident. Simon nodded. Relativity Entertainment's ambitions are greater than Legend. And this guy can bring too many private equity funds to support him. Unfortunately, he never expected that the theory of relativity would go bankrupt within 10 years of its establishment. Chapter 94. Simon is of course jealous that Relativity Entertainment wants to intervene in the film distribution industry, and Ryan Kavlog doesn't know how to pull such a large investment on Wall Street. Mr. Pike, can I buy you a drink? A sexy beauty came over and greeted with a smile. You are Sofia Vergara, Colombian. The sexy beauty introduced herself. Simon looked at it, and it was indeed Sofia Vergara, a Latin American sexy beauty. The family sitcom Modern Family has not yet come out, and now Sofia Vergara is just a small actor in the TV circle. However, Simon knows her, not because of her fame. Even after many seasons of Modern Family, she is still a small actor in the circle. However, she has a Latin American entertainment company that specializes in marketing and packaging for Latino entertainers, and will make her the second highest earning actress in the future after Scarlett Johansson. Listening to the strong Colombian English, Simon smiled. This kind of place, coming in as her, estimated that it would cost thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to buy an invitation. America to the south of the United States is Latin America, and it's mostly Spanish over there. Simon asked. Yes, but Brazil is mainly Portuguese, Haiti is French, and the rest are mainly Spanish, Sofia Vergara responded with some seriousness. After all, the opposite is a Hollywood upstart with a net worth of $500 million. After Spain withdrew from the Americas, its influence still exists in Mexico, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. Sofia Vergara hopes to get to know Simon to get a chance, and Simon also hopes to know more about Latin America through her later. The two entered the dance floor together. The 35-year-old Sofia Vergara has a first-class figure and is indeed a star comparable to Shakira in Latin America. There are still quite a few artists of Latin American descent in Hollywood, and it seems that there are the most Latinos in Miami, Simon said, holding the girl's waist. After all, Florida is the prominent peninsula in the southeastern United States that radiates throughout Latin America. It's not very good. We are always outsiders, and we are not as good as Europe. It is not easy for us to come to the United States, but most of the first stops are Miami, and Mexico is the bordering United States, Sofia Way said. Colombia, where Gala is located, is very chaotic, and his brother was killed by a drug dealer. Simon nodded. Everyone knows what virtue the United States is. How can there be another powerful country other than the United States in the entire America? Now Hollywood is paying more and more attention to the Latin American market. The more you know about it, the easier it is to enter, Simon said, staring at Sofia Vergara. I'm just a small actor. I just opened a small agency marketing company for artists in Latin America, and I'm not as popular in Latin America as Jennifer Lopez. Sofia Vergara suddenly felt a little nervous. My small entertainment company that has been in business for almost 10 years is not very powerful. Latin America is right on the doorstep of the United States. I make movies. Although this market is not valued by major filmmakers now, it will be different in the future. It depends on whether you plan to be a small actor for the rest of your life, or whether you plan to make money in terms of income. Like a first-line actor, Simon drew the cake for her. Noting her eyes getting brighter and brighter, Simon still knows something about Sofia Vergara. She is a very capable woman in business. Her previous boyfriend was a Miami drug dealer, so, what do I have to pay? Sofia Vergara has no qualifications to negotiate conditions with a filmmaker like Simon Pike, but there is no free lunch in the world. Simon Pike has resources that he cannot get. If he wants to make himself influential in Latin America, he must give himself some resources. TV, Xinghe Entertainment currently has its own TV department. The first TV will be produced soon. I will find a TV script that suits you. I will also invest in your entertainment company. As for the payment, Simon smiled. With a smile, he continued, for me, what price can you pay now? Sofia Vergara was stunned for a while. She really had nothing to say. A 35-year-old sexy star who had given birth to a child can attract the attention of Simon Parker. Okay, I will need you in the future. Your company should have some resources for Latin American filmmakers now, right? Simon thought of the script for Millionaire, which was going to be shot in the slums of India. Sofia Vergara in front of her has some knowledge of Brazil, but does she have any knowledge of India? Latin America World Entertainment now also helps some models from Latin America come to Hollywood, and the beauty pageant champion survives in the United States, and there will also be a few famous Latin American artists in the United States to plan events there, and then launch some Spanish-language ones. The show is aimed at the Latin American population in North America. Sofia has nothing to hide. We have hundreds of beauty pageant champions in Colombia every year, and it is already a complete industry chain. The United States is their dreamland. In order to get a green card, they can pay a lot. Colombian beauties are indeed famous, Simon said, pinching Sofia Vergara's waist. The Latin beauty's wheat-colored skin and hot body are indeed a magic weapon to attract people. Maybe, at that time, my company can arrange several beauty pageant champions. Really, they can be assistants or servants, models, etc., and give them 5-year work visas. They will be very grateful to you and will never betray you. Sofia was a little excited. Simon was stunned for a moment. Should he be so direct? He simply sold his body for 5 years and changed his U.S. residency, and he could not pay his salary. Okay, take your time. Now you are still running your company well. After all, your influence is too small now. Although you have achieved success in the Latin American TV circle, you must have a certain influence in the United States. In TV and film circles, it's just some sexy little characters. Of course not, I understand. In fact, it's beyond my expectations to be able to meet you today. It's not easy for me to come in on this occasion. It's the invitation card that my partner Luis Balaguer got me. Sofia Vergara smiled helplessly. Of course, this is also a common move by many small stars. After all, it is easy to meet noble people in such places. Simon nodded and said, your company is in Miami, right? Yes, there are the most Latin American groups over there. Sofia Vergara quickly nodded in response. Nice place. Chapter 95. The female star in business. In Lower Manhattan, New York, Simon lies on a bed in a suite at the Holiday Inn New York, while Sofia Vergara sits on Simon for a massage. Forbes website released in early March this year the global wealth list. Mexican telecom tycoon Carlos Slim ranked third with a net worth of $49 billion. And only a month later, when the Forbes website announced the statistics again on April 11, his total assets had reached $53.1 billion, even more than Buffett's $700 million, ranking in the Forbes Global number 2 on the rich list. The money of these rich people is really a series of numbers, Simon said, dropping the Forbes newspaper in his hand. Since meeting Simon Pike, Sofia Vergara has worked hard to maintain this relationship. After returning to Miami, she came to New York soon. Simon, Luis is very welcome to your investment. If you need it, the contacts in Latin America will be at your disposal. Sofia Vergara laughed while massaging Simon's back. Simon smiled. Still connections? I don't even have a distribution now, but if I sell the movie to Latin America in the future, maybe this company will contribute. Luis Balaguer, an entertainer from Madrid, Spain, does he have some ability in the Spanish-speaking market? Simon said, not much interested in what this so-called Latin American entertainment company is involved in, only the shows they sell to the Latin American community interested. We helped Jennifer Lopez organize concerts before, and now the company also has actresses like Jessica Alba and Salma Hayek. Sofia Vergara also knows Simon's interest in Latin American world entertainment. The company does not like it. After all, the revenue of a movie of Xinghe Entertainment is more than that of Latin American world entertainment. For several years Simon turned over, lay flat, and looked at Sofia Vergara, who was wearing sexy lingerie. There was indeed the boldness of a Latin American woman. It seems that Jennifer Lopez and Jessica Alba are both born in the United States, and their parents are Latinos, but they are also descendants, Simon said, rubbing the girl's body, and continued, as for Salma Hayek, she's probably the most famous actress in Mexico. She was nominated for an Oscar for Best Actress in 2002's Frida, and last year's Ugly Betty was also well received. Salma Hayek is indeed the most powerful actor and producer in Hollywood in Latin America. She is only 41 years old this year. She is sexy and beautiful. Salma Hayek was harassed by Harvey Weinstein at Miramax for a long time while filming Frida, Sofia Vergara said close to Simon's ear. Hey, this guy seems to let him go as long as he is a female star who has worked with him, especially foreign female stars. Simon Pike's Xinghe Entertainment and Harvey Weinstein's Weinstein International Pictures are it's an open secret at all. Simon patted the girl, got up from the bed, and Sofia Vergara brought her pajamas and put it on Simon. I walked to the window and looked at the World Trade Center buildings 1 and 2, which were under construction not far away. Fortunately, I knew that Ben had not bombed here, otherwise I would have dared not live here. Maybe I accidentally bombed it wrong, and it would be fun to blow up this holiday in Sofia. Xinghe Films has another film about India to be produced recently. It needs a filmmaker who knows about the slums in India to participate. The crew will go to the slums in Mumbai to shoot. You have such a film production people? The slums in Mumbai are similar to the slums in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Simon said, looking at the original site of One World Trade Center Tower 1, which was being built and named the Freedom Tower because British director Danny Boyle took the initiative to find Xinghe Pictures and hoped to direct this movie of the same name as the British variety reality show Who Can Be a Millionaire, and started discussions with a screenwriter, and the plan was also put to Na's desk. Nina Jacobson thinks it is very feasible. The budget is only $15 million, and it is a low-cost literary film. In India? Sofia Vergara shook her head. Although it's good to be able to participate, where do you know any filmmakers in India? There are many slums in Latin America. Maybe this is very similar to India. Well, that's fine. My new artist from Star Records released an album last year that sold well, but you can contribute to the release in Latin America. Simon said of Taylor Swift, well, this little girl is on fire, this is no problem. The most cooperation we have over there is the singer's music and model catwalk business. Sofia Vergara, of course, knows Star Records, and Taylor Swift is the queen of country music. Simon nodded. At present, the main business of Latin America World Entertainment is to contact entertainment programs in Latin America and North America, and music is the main business. By the way, didn't you come to New York to find me something? Simon asked. Yes, don't you have a 9-headed bird fund investment company? Now Jessica Alba has an idea of forming a company and is seeking investment. Sofia Vergara said quickly. Jessica Alba, she has starred in a lot of movies in recent years. Fantastic Four 2 will be released soon. How did she think of doing business? Simon Parker still pays attention to the queen of bad Hollywood movies. After all, this year's Variety magazine Sexy Actress First. I don't know. I heard that she has prepared a business plan. Do you want to meet? Sofia Vergara asked. I'm interested in investing in some technology industries now. She shouldn't be a technology company. Simon has never heard of Jessica Alba and talent in this area. Oh, it's not the technology industry, it seems to be a product for children. Sofia Vergara is not very clear. Anyway, she just mentioned it. Well, let's meet. Anyway, Jessica Alba is also a sexy beautiful girl in Hollywood, isn't it? Simon and many beauties in Hollywood do not have much intersection, but Jessica Alba is still good, chocolate-colored skin, indeed, has the appearance of a Latina beauty. Okay, I'll make arrangements. Can I be in New York for a few days? Sofia Vergara was very attentive. Okay, I should be in New York in April. Simon is about to visit the Tribeca Film Festival in New York. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96. What a pity. Simon, the pseudo-documentary family sitcom idea you mentioned is called My Home in America. It was rejected by the producer when it was given to Fox and CBS. Are you sure that our Xinghe TV department wants to develop it? Sonia Roman has already put Simon's requested Breaking Bad and Walking Dead TV scripts are done, and he gets a call to find a family sitcom in the form of a documentary. Simon nodded, and said in a calm tone, Isn't there two large wireless TV stations, ABBC? As for the CW wireless network, Simon didn't take it seriously himself anyway. Sonia Roman nodded. Simon was optimistic anyway, and asked, then let's send it to ABBC and try. Let's wait until Gossip Girl airs in September. Remember to change the name to Modern Family, Simon said, leaning back in his chair. Sofia Vergara of Latin American World Entertainment, who you've been dealing with these days, fits the role of the sexy and beautiful wife of the old man from Colombia who married to America. Sonia Roman nodded, and the meaning was very clear. Simon, that company is just a small company. Does our Star Records really want to invest? Sonia Roman really doesn't care about the Latin American market. It's just because it's small that it's worth investing now, and Sofia Vergara is a very smart person, and she's still very popular in Latin America, Simon said anyway, and he didn't pay anything. Alright, at least they still have a lot of connections in the Spanish-speaking community. Sonia Roman thought of something and asked, by the way, Simon, I heard you're going to invest in Jessica Alba's business. Look, I'm also a little interested in what business celebrities invest in. You arrange for us to meet her together. The biggest advantage of celebrities is their own effect. Okay. Also, Spider-Man 3 held the world premiere of the movie at RB's Tokyo yesterday on 4.16. Sony is very confident in this ace. Sonia Roman sighed, which is Marvel's best influential heroes. Forget it. Spider-Man 3 seems to premiere at the Tribeca Film Festival on 5.6 in North America. Simon couldn't help it. As long as Sony can guarantee to produce a Spider-Man movie within 5 years, this series has been consistently received by the audience. They are in hand. David Messer is in contact with 20th Century Fox, and Deadpool really can't go back. Simon asked. David Messer is Marvel's chief operating officer. 20th Century Fox took it away on the grounds that Deadpool is also a mutant. Lionsgate now still has the copyrights of 2 Marvel heroes, Humanoid and Punisher, and the rest were taken back by Marvel. After all, Marvel had previously the contract signed with Artisan Pictures. Lionsgate acquired Artisan and did not re-sign the contract with us, and it is hard to say if there is a lawsuit. Sonia Roman explained that Lionsgate did not plan to develop this kind of superhero anyway. Movies, The Punisher, Humanoid are also B-rated movies. Deadpool is supposed to transform people. How can it be said to be mutants? 20th Century Fox has the entire mutant system. Isaac Perlmutter is damned. Simon still likes the role of Deadpool very much. He also scolded former Marvel chairman Isaac Perlmutter. Hollywood's new generation of sexy actress Jessica Alba came to Star Records with a business plan in the small conference room. Simon Pike read the so-called business plan, put it on the table, and asked, Jessica, did you do this yourself? A company about healthy and harmless daily necessities for infants and young children. The name is Theo, an honest company. Yes, I checked the information and did it on purpose. Although Jessica Alba is 26 years old this year, she is 1 year older than Simon Pike. But now is the time for unequal identities. Simon looked at Jessica Alba in front of him, with a small and beautiful face. No wonder she was selected as the sexiest woman in the world. Tell me, how can you have such an idea? Infant products, doing well is a big market. When I was doing laundry, I found that a lot of healthy laundry detergents were actually mixed with some harmful substances. I thought it would not be good for infants and young children. Jessica Alba wore a khaki slim sweater today. The coat has been taken off. Health products for babies and toddlers, Simon said, looking at Jessica Alba again. Has she had a baby yet? In my impression, I do get married a little early and have children very early. Mr. Pike, I don't have a child myself, but my boyfriend and I are planning to have a child in the next 2 years. Jessica Alba quickly reacted to Simon's suspicious gaze. So it is. Simon sighed in his heart. What a pity, what a beautiful flower. Afterwards, he picked up the business plan and said, the biggest gain here is to clarify your idea, but do you know what else a business plan of this kind of company needs? Jessica Alba stared at her big eyes and shook her head in embarrassment. Company strategy, product positioning, target group, logistics, supply chain, promotion and marketing, financial management, etc. Simon thought to himself, if he had come up with this kind of plan in his previous life, the boss would definitely hire him directly. Then, Jessica Alba also knew that she was unprofessional and was a little discouraged. However, Simon continued suddenly, although you are not professional, it can be seen that you have used a lot of energy, and I am indeed interested in this idea, so, I support you. After you go back, plan it carefully and come up with a professional plan for me. I suggest that you can develop a website first. The online marketing platform is still good, and we can do it at that time. Financing, Maybe it will be acquired by Procter U0026 Gamble or Johnson U0026 Johnson in the future. Simon laughed. Jessica Alba was overjoyed and said excitedly, "Mr. Parker, don't worry, I will make a professional plan in the future. Thank you for supporting me. This has always been my dream." Simon nodded. Jessica Alba is a Hollywood face, and Fantastic Four is also her most influential movie, but unfortunately it can't make waves. Just call me Simon. We are about the same age anyway, and the Fantastic Four 2 starring you will also be released. Congratulations. Simon laughed. Well, thank you. That was also done with the participation of Marvel Studios, Jessica said, looking at Simon again, and said, after that, can I come to you often to talk about the new company? Simon nodded and said, yes. Chapter 97 Familiar Figures. Starting from 4.25, the Tribeca Independent Film Festival in New York opened, and the entire Tribeca neighborhood was full of various filmmakers. This 12-day film festival also attracted many foreign films. In just a few years, the Tribeca Film Festival has become one of the three major independent films in the United States, along with the St. Denis Film Festival and the South by Southwest Film Festival. Simon Pike and Blake Lively, who came to New York, roamed the Tribeca Film Festival neighborhood like ordinary people. This is the first time I've been to a festival in person, Simon said, browsing. Well, it's different. A lot of independent films cost too little to find a distributor for distribution, Blake Lively said, holding Simon's arm, seemingly not surprised by the situation. I also know that directors all want their movies to be shown in theaters, otherwise they will always be unwilling to release DVDs or other platforms directly. Simon is just a tourist now, and movies can only be promoted when they enter theaters, right? Ming Lee needs to see how much influence the movie has. Simon, are we here to find potential directors? But we don't have a distribution network, Blake Lively said after thinking for a while. Do you want to release the movie yourself? Think. Now it's okay for our Xinghai Films to release some low-cost literary films. It's fine to find some art theater chains, but I don't have any staff in this field. Although Nini knows it, I think it's time to buy a company. It's useless for a full-fledged distributor to distribute those low-budget literary films, Simon said, looking up Apple, a Chinese movie. Simon saw a pictorial and ran over. No matter what, the feeling in his bones would never disappear. Simon, what happened? Blake Lively came over and asked suspiciously, what happened to this foreign movie? It's nothing, let's go in and watch it. It's only been shown for less than half an hour, Simon said, just because it was a hometown movie. Apple, starring Fan Bingbing, Tony Lun Coffey and Tong Dai. Simon has seen this movie before. There are very few people in the small screening room, mainly Chinese people. Simon, this movie was shortlisted in the Best Story competition and was nominated for a Golden Bear in the main competition at the Berlin International Film Festival in February, said Blake Lively, watching the film as he entered. Flyer, said Simon nodded. The Tribeca Film Festival has 7 competition units, and the Best Story competition unit is the Screenplay Award. The scale of Apple is very large, and it must be deleted in China. Even if it is released in North America, it is at least R-rated. However, Simon remembers that this film is banned in China. Well, how's it going? Simon asked Blake Lively after watching the movie. Blake Lively shook his head and smiled. I don't think it's interesting, but literary films always like to add love scenes. Simon nodded. It is indeed not a good movie. Fanya is not the future Fanya. Simon, why do you suddenly care about Chinese movies? Blake Lively was very puzzled. Weinstein Pictures has set up an Asian film fund to invest in and distribute films in Asia. China is the main market. Simon frowned. In the future, my biggest competitors will be Lionsgate and Weinstein Pictures. Independent filmmakers cannot compete with the 6 major filmmakers in many ways. The future market of Asia is in China. Oh, but we can't release movies yet. It's useless for us to buy overseas movie rights. Although Blake Lively is young, he also knows about Simon's unforgettable distribution industry. The Weinstein brothers have kept in touch with many filmmakers in China. He has released a lot of Chinese films in North America, and he has a good relationship with some big directors of RB. Simon will spend great efforts to develop overseas markets in the future. China is the key market. Okay, let's not talk about him. Spartan 300 Warriors is about to be released. When will you go back to Los Angeles? Blake Lively just released a romance film in March, and then he will be with Jennifer Smith as filming Gossip Girl together. It's just 2 days, Simon said and asked again, when will Jennifer Smith's role in 26 Dresses end? Come on, Gossip Girl is almost ready now. We will officially start shooting in New York on 5.15. Blake Lively said while holding Simon's arm affectionately. Oh, then come back to Los Angeles with me, then come back to New York. Simon should indeed go back to Los Angeles, and Mama Mia is also going to Greece to shoot. Simon said that he saw a somewhat familiar face, and his eyes looked in that direction. The Hunting Party starring Richard Gere and Terrence Howard was promoting. One is the person Simon wants to give him some fun, and the other is Colonel Rhodes, who was just replaced by Iron Man. Interesting. Simon looked in that direction. It's very beautiful. The body and face are all first class, Blake Lively said, suddenly looking over there. Well, Simon froze for a moment. Who are you talking about? Oh, Diane Kruger. As expected of a German supermodel, the beautiful Helen really suits her. Blake Lively saw the heroine Diane standing beside Richard Gere. Kruger. Simon looked, then relieved. Diane Kruger, who had previously played Queen Helen in Brad Pitt's Troy. I saw that old guy Richard Gere. Now I don't often boycott next year's Beijing Olympics in public. I'm planning to go to Beijing to watch the Olympics next year. This guy just makes me feel uneasy. Pay attention to the beautiful Diane Kruger next to her. It seems that she is also a supporting actress in National Treasure. Simon, you really don't seem to like him. Blake Lively heard the disgust from Simon's words. Okay, let's not talk about him. Actors are not good at acting for me. They like to engage in messy political events. They will always be eliminated by the general trend. Simon can't say that this guy has offended his own nation in his last life, right? Yankees know what a previous life said. Okay, then I'll go back to Los Angeles tomorrow. When are you going back? 2 days later, Nancy Davis sent me to a business reception. Simon explained. Chapter 98. Are all real estate? Nancy Davis and Simon sit on the sofa chatting in the ballroom of 666 Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, New York. Simon, what do you think of this building? Nancy Davis asked suddenly with a smile. How? Simon didn't understand what she meant. Kushner Properties, a real estate group on the New Jersey side, paid $1.8 billion for this Midtown Manhattan tower, explained Nancy Davis. The Kushner Group that was imprisoned the year before last for undertaking the construction of the World Trade Center? Simon asked. Yes, now his eldest son, Jared Kushner, manages the company, and it's a big deal as soon as he shoots, Nancy Davis said with some admiration. While the Kushner Group only made a $50 million down payment, there was another $535 million in short-term high-interest loans and a $1.2 billion mortgage. Simon smiled. Yes, it's very bold. It turned out to be the first waste son-in-law of the United States in the future. This building is being purchased at such a high price, but it will lose money for many years in the future. However, I seem to be more interested in the New York Observer, a regional weekly newspaper in Manhattan that he acquired 2 years ago. He doesn't understand the media industry, and the future of this weekly newspaper seems obvious. Simon smiled. The guy's business vision is too bad. Donating money to Harvard University doesn't seem to be genuine. Oh, the New York Observer made a special report on you last year, Hollywood's upstart technology vision. Nancy Davis smiled, and Simon Pike's reputation in New York also gained. Look over there, Stephen Ross of Vonada Real Estate Group. There are a lot of real estate tycoons here today, Simon said. Nancy Davis looked at another person and said, that is John Paulson, the head of Paulson's hedge fund. Isn't it related to our Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson? Simon laughed. Henry Paulson became the 74th U.S. Treasury Secretary last July and was the chairman and CEO of Goldman Sachs Group before. Okay, Simon. Nancy Davis shook her head, interrupted Simon's joke, and said seriously, the Paulson Fund began shorting ABX at the end of last year, and it also bought CDS this year. This is a precursor to bearish real estate, and it's basically the same idea as ABX, the composite index of subprime mortgage bond prices. When the subprime mortgage risk increases and the price of securitized subprime mortgage assets falls, the ABX index declines accordingly. CDS stands for credit default swap, subprime bond insurance. Moreover, both ABX and CDS are over-the-counter transactions that do not go through exchanges, and investors and traders negotiate prices through various methods. John Paulson, you are still quite courageous. Simon's eyes brightened. After all, the real estate is still strong, and shorting is a loss. Same as your analysis, short ABX directly, and keep buying CDS. Simon feels that it can really start now. After all, the price of CDS will get higher and higher as time goes on. As credit insurance for subprime housing bonds, CDS serves as a hedge against subprime mortgage risks. Investors can get compensation from insurance companies after real estate prices fall. However, there are many institutions who do not believe that many people will default at the same time and cannot pay their mortgages, so they do not buy CDS, and the house price does not fall. CDS is just a pile of waste paper, but once the house price falls, the price of CDS will skyrocket in an instant. Various investment banks, real estate loan companies and real estate investment funds all hope to have this thing to offset losses. Apple's stock price is now $90 per share. We have more than 3 million shares worth more than $270 million, mortgaged to the bank, at least $100 million in loans first, and we are going to start entering the game. Simon can't wait any longer. I can't forgive myself for missing this time. Apple's stock price is rising very well now, and it can be mortgaged, but if we also acquire CDS, if the house price does not fall, we will lose a lot of money in vain. According to the current situation, we have to spend at least 6% of the subordinated bond price to buy corresponding CDS, $100 million of bonds. When the house price does not fall, the loss of $6 million a year, plus bank interest, will exceed $10 million. Nancy Davis hesitated. Simon said solemnly, but as long as the house price falls, there will be a large number of buyers who can't repay the loan and default, and the CDS in our hands will increase several times. However, there must be millions of people who can't repay the loan. After all, the current real estate market, the government, banks, and credit institutions are all involved. Nancy Davis sighed. Okay, Nancy, let's go out for a walk in the evening. I will convince you to agree with my idea. Simon didn't want to argue. Nancy Davis, as the head of the Nine-Headed Bird Fund, wanted to talk to herself. It's good to work together. Nancy Davis nodded and said, well, as your money manager, I have the responsibility to avoid risks for you. Understood? Drink a bar. Simon said, raising his glass and touching her. That's Peter Peterson, one of the founders of the Blackstone Group. It's amazing that a private equity fund like Blackstone can go public. Simon was stunned. Come on, we'll be going to the New York Stock Exchange next month to ring the bell, Nancy Davis said, then smiled. Last year, the KKR private equity fund in Europe was listed in Amsterdam, giving Blackstone a blueprint for its operation. As the first listed private equity fund in China, it's not bad. Simon told investors she was not interested. I heard that they are quoting Hilton Hotel Management Group. Nancy Davis nodded and said, more than half of the more than 80 billion funds managed by Blackstone Group belong to real estate investment funds. Last year, they competed with Vonnet, a real estate company, and won the acquisition battle of COP, an office real estate company. The Hilton Hotel has been acquired, and the listing is mainly for this financing. Hey, Simon sighed. Blackstone Group also raised $3 billion from SYC in this listing, which is really super expensive. Blackstone Group was actually valued by SYC at $30 billion and spent $3 billion for 10% without voting shares. I don't know how many times the SYC has been taken advantage of in Europe and America. Blackstone's $3 billion will shrink by at least half next year. Hi Simon, we meet again now. Of course I should cherish being able to communicate with so many business elites. Yes, this is a good opportunity for our young people to learn. Chapter 99. Ivanka, who has been a model, can also be regarded as a person in the fashion circle, and Simon, as a person in the entertainment circle, of course, has some common topics, and the two are of similar age, so they sat on the sofa and chatted together. This is the first time to participate in this kind of chamber of commerce. Ivanka asked with a characteristic nature. Simon nodded, looked at Nancy Davis on the other side, and said with a smile, Nancy hopes that I can attend this kind of business reception more often, and there will be no less dealings in the future. Yes, bankers, entrepreneurs, investors, brokers, they all need to be taken care of anyway, Ivanka said, not surprised by this kind of activity at this point. Jared Kushner walked up to Ivanka. Ivanka, it's nice to see you again. Hello, Jared, Ivanka responded generously, and then said again, I'll introduce you. This is, Simon Parker, not only on the cover of financial magazines, our New York Observer also made his album, The Young Boss of Xinghai Pictures. Jared Kushner smiled and shook hands with Simon. Simon also responded, Jared Kushner and Ivanka, these two, Jared and I met at a real estate party before, and Simon and I met at a charity party over there in Miami, Ivanka said with a smile. Simon smiled, thinking that the two had already begun to fall in love, but it turned out that they had only met once, and he planned to walk away and leave time for them. By the way, congratulations on this property becoming the property of the Kushner Group. Simon pointed to the floor and smiled. Thank you, I'm just optimistic about the real estate market. We do real estate, but you can't make movies without Simon, Jared Kushner said. Simon shook his head and said, how can it be the same? The risk of movies is much more than real estate investment. Simon, do you have any interest in real estate? The Kushner Group can give you a good recommendation. Jared Kushner used the Jewish business experience, and businesses everywhere. Oh, Simon is interested in some private equity funds, especially venture capital funds. Ivanka laughed. Right, Simon, it's okay. If there is extra money, it will enter the real estate industry. Hollywood is a big real estate owner. Simon said with a smile, when it comes to buying a house, stars have never lost anyone. By the way, Simon, what do you think of the traditional media industry now? The sales of print newspapers are declining, and online news seems to be hit hard. Jared Kushner said, well, this guy still wants to run the New York Observer. Well, a weekly newspaper with a circulation of less than 50,000 copies. There must be an impact. Now young people are more interested in reading on the internet. Of course, the print media will not disappear. There will definitely be an impact. It depends on how to transform. Traditional journalists also need to keep pace with the times. News Corporation is now what about buying the Dow Jones Group, which owns the Wall Street Journal. Some long-established newspapers still have a lot of loyal readers. Simon himself likes online news. Indeed, I also asked the New York Observer to start a transformation. Simon smiled. This transformation is to fire a group of editors who are not suitable for internet news. Jews have always been merciless in this regard. Okay, Simon, why don't you talk about Hollywood? I'm a little interested. Ivanka suddenly interrupted. Well, Simon glanced at her. Ivanka seemed to have had a boyfriend with a Hollywood producer before. By the way, Simon, do you know what happened to Hollywood actor Mel Gibson now? Jared Kushner also suddenly asked. Mel Gibson, I don't have much cooperation with him. I don't know very well, Simon murmured inwardly. Mel Gibson was killed by all of you Jews. The media and financial circles targeted him. Last year, he directed the movie Apocalypse was released at the end of the year, and he did not participate. He really shouldn't have said that about us Jews. Jared Kushner, a traditional Jewish family, spared no effort to boycott Mel Gibson. Simon can't deny that the Jews are so powerful. By the way, Simon, I am very familiar with New York. How about I take you for a walk in the evening? Ivanka suggested. I'm fine, Simon, are you okay? Jared Kushner said. Simon said helplessly, no, I still have something to do at night. You can go. Simon has to talk to Nancy Davis about things. Well, how can there be leisure time to spend time with his rich second generation? That's a pity. I hope I'll date you next time. Ivanka said and shrugged, as if she was very sorry. Watching the two leave, Simon smiled. This guy is obviously pursuing Ivanka. If there is no accident, he will get married in 2 years. Will there be an accident? Hi, Simon. Wall Street investment tycoon Carl Icahn came over. Mr. Icahn, good afternoon. Simon shook hands with him. Carl Icahn sniping at Time Warner last year really made him a lot. Simon, you seem to be very optimistic about the Marvel company. You spun off Toy Biz and privatized Marvel. Your loss is not small. Carl Icahn has a kind face, but a wolf hard in this way. The company can run according to my plan, otherwise I will spend time arguing with the board of directors. Simon smiled. He is not a speculator, but he has to run the company well. Xinghai Entertainment never thought about continue to expand. With Simon at the helm, I believe there will be a good rate of return. Carl Icahn laughed. Why? Mr. Icahn is also interested in this small company of mine? Simon smiled and took a sip of a glass of wine. As long as it's a profitable investment, I'm interested. Other investors like to develop film funds, but I like to invest in film companies directly, which can be considered an investment in people. How about it, Simon? Carl Icahn said to Xinghai Entertainment's film development capabilities are very confident, but the scale is too small, and it does not have its own distribution capabilities. If Mr. Icahn's fund is really interested, it can develop a platter investment project, and Xinghai Pictures can directly expand the scale of the project. Simon responded, then come to invest in movies, and then there will be a distribution network after that. The movie also needs to be fleshed out. Haha, platter investment, Simon, you are too slick. You don't even have a distribution network? You want external funds to improve your own distribution system for you in the future? Hey. Simon also laughed. Chapter 100, Execute Well. At night, Simon and Nancy Davis were sitting in the car driving on Broadway. Looking at the flashing neon lights outside the window, Simon seemed to see someone jumping from the rooftop next year. Simon, I'm still worried that your thinking is too radical. Is it really possible that millions of people will default on their mortgage credits? Nancy Davis has always worried that betting on CDS is too risky. Hell, Nancy, I rarely go to nightclubs for entertainment. Why don't you take me to a nightclub near here? How about we have a good drink? Simon suggested suddenly. Well, okay. Nancy Davis nodded. Lower Manhattan, a club in Greenwich Village, is a relaxed leisure and entertainment bar, suitable for some senior business people to come and relax after get off work. This place is good. I don't really like those rock, jazz bars, but Simon kind of likes watching the crowd on the dance floor. Oh, Simon, there are also many Hollywood stars in this place, and Broadway actors come, mainly in secret. Nancy Davis and Simon came to a quiet semi-box together, leaning on the sofa. You can enjoy the performance outside while drinking. I heard that in 1969 there were hundreds of spontaneous violent revolts at the nearby Stonewall Bar, and a lot of people died, Simon said of the Stonewall Bar incident in Greenwich Village. Simon, you know this kind of thing? It was a mass revolt in a gay bar, and the black community joined the revolt of gay people. Nancy Davis also heard others say, black people, it seems that all violence is inseparable from them. Simon suddenly remembered what Mel Gibson said, all wars are inseparable from the Jews. Simon, you dare to say something like this in Hollywood? Nancy Davis said with a smile, few people like black people, it's all for political or business interests. So, Hollywood and Wall Street are the same. These two places gather the most bad things in the United States. Simon said, looking at the crowd outside, and asked again, brokers on Wall Street are under a lot of pressure every day, and this kind of place is really a good choice for them to release the pressure. Well, a lot of people spend almost half their income on booze and call girls. Nancy Davis said so. Female brokers on Wall Street are even more valuable, and the situation of men and women here is much more serious than in Hollywood. Simon is now a person with a feminist label. No way, the center of male power. Wall Street is always a place dominated by men, and women are always subordinate. Nancy Davis, as a woman, knows the situation here too well. Simon smiled and summoned a young waiter. Sir, do you need anything? The beautiful waitress asked politely. Bring these wines I want. Simon handed her a list after the waiter left. Nancy Davis couldn't help it and asked, Simon, are you really here for a drink? Otherwise, tonight I rejected the invitation of the daughter of the real estate tycoon, and came to drink with you. Simon said with a lazy expression. Nancy Davis smiled helplessly and said, Simon, I found that you are really different. There are really not many young people like you now. You have almost no bad habits to say, and you are very calm. Oh, it must be. I used to be in poor health. The marijuana thing lowered my resistance too much. Later, I threw those things into the trash can. Sir, your wine. The waiter poured wine for the two of Simon. Wait. Simon stopped the waiter when he was about to leave. Sir, what else do you need? A few questions for you, Simon said, pulling out a few $100 bills from his wallet and handing them to her as a tip. The waiter took the tip with bright eyes and looked at Simon, asking casually, how much do you earn a month? Simon asked, well, I made about $30,000 to $40,000 last year as a waitress here. Have you bought a house yet? The waiter smiled and said, I bought 3 houses with a loan. Is there not much pressure to repay? Simon continued to ask, hey, it was fine before, but now the interest rate has also risen, and the house price is not as good as before. If the room does not rise, I'm also worried that the bank will take back the house. Although the waiter was a little worried, as long as the house price rose, it would be not a problem. Thank you. All the friends or relatives you know I have bought houses, right? I bought a lot of them. The dancer is my friend. Her annual income is close to $60,000. She has 5 houses. The waiter said while pointing to a bar dancer performing outside. Okay, we will call you again if necessary. Simon said and took a sip of wine after the waiter went out. Nancy Davis froze for a moment and said, Simon, is this the reason? Yes, this is the reason. Now the Fed's interest rate is as high as 5.25%. A dancer owns 5 houses, and a bar waiter has 3 houses. Simon stared at Nancy Davis seriously. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's 2 government-guaranteed real estate loan companies now have almost $3 trillion in foreign debt. After 9/11, the government-driven real estate economy has now overheated. In the past few years, interest rates were low and real estate depreciation was fast. Everyone was under less pressure, and the mortgage real estate was rising in value. Now it is no longer possible. Nancy, listen to me. Hurry up with Apple's stock mortgage loan, short ABX and buy CDS a lot. The sooner you can make more money. Facing Simon Parker's unquestionable tone, Nancy Davis had no choice but to nod and say, "Let's take a loan of $100 million first." Simon smiled and said, "Apple's first mobile phone was listed on 5.9. After that, the stock price will skyrocket, and my 3 million shares of Apple will be worth a lot of money. I can borrow as much as I can. This time, I will not only short subprime bonds, but also use leverage to short a wave of banks, real estate, and hotels in the stock market." Nancy Davis just wanted to speak. Simon raised his hand to stop her, looked at Nancy Davis and said seriously, "Nancy, just follow the order I gave. Time is running out. I will lose. Even if I lose all this time, I only need to make a few movies to earn it back, and Zinghe Entertainment is also my foundation. Well, I will let the Nine-Headed Bird Fund start implementing your plan as soon as possible. I hope you are right." End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.